cross the ocean just to find your grave. Sacrifice your own boys for a lie. Listen. Yeah. Yeah. Make America great again. Yo, Tails, this shit crazy. Yeah, make America great again now. We will see what happens, yeah. Watch this. Sacred defense, we protecting the soil. While you sacrifice soldiers to pay for your spoil. You thought you ran the blow, sitting on your throne. Now we turning every base into a bed of stone. It's a slaughterhouse, a trap you couldn't see. Welcome to the graveyard of your vanity. The secrets are leaking. The pressure is rising. We locked on the target. And now you are hiding. LOSCR. Yeah, we spelling at your name. Send them to the slaughter, you the only one to blame. Bleeding for a puppet while you shaking in your sweet. LOSCR. Taste the ash of defeat. LOSCR. Yeah, we spelling at your name. Send them to the slaughter, you the only one to blame. Bleeding for a puppet while you shaking in your sweet. LOSCR. Take the ash of defeat. In your suit, hiding Epstein's ghost. You sent your boys to die on the bloody coast. Not a revenge for the leader's blood is purely mine. Every drop of his blood is a missile on the line. You thought you took him out, thought the fire was dead, but another common day is standing ahead. Yeah, you strike one down, we just shatter your brain. We put another in the head. Common day again. The secrets are leaking. The pressure is rising. We locked on the target. And now you are hiding. Yeah, we spelling out your name. Send them to the slaughter, you the only one to blame. Bleeding for a puppet while you shaking in your sweet. LOSCR. Taste the ash. LOSCR. Yeah, we spelling out your name. Send them to the slaughter, you the only one to blame. Bleeding for a puppet while you shaking in your sweet. LOSCR. Taste the ash of defeat. Sacred defense of the homeland. Sacred defense of the homeland. Sacred defense of the homeland. The slaughterhouse is open. Common leg cat. LOSCR.
All right, hello everyone, Grand Rising. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, hello Trisha, J Love the Queen. All right, Bronze Flat Power God is here. Okay, let's get into it. Ancient Scribe, Trisha, Buckhorst DC. Okay, shout out to all my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. So everyone, please hit the like button. Also, don't forget to double check and make sure you're still subscribed to the channel, especially if you have not been receiving the notifications. Okay, so with that all being said, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so with that all being said, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes Hair Oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she also sells beard oil. Okay, so let me just tell you all something. This whole ceasefire has just fallen apart at the seams. And if you ask me, it wasn't even real. Okay, Trump is never to be trusted. Netanyahu is definitely not to be trusted. He has continued firing upon Lebanon. And, they have been saying that Lebanon was not a part of the agreement, but of course they were. Okay, of course they were. Now, we saw their 10-point plan, did we not? Didn't we all see it with our own two eyes? But before we get into that, hold on, let's go to this clip. Let's go to this news report. Let me pull this up. Okay, here we go. Iran war updates. Oil tankers passage halted in Hormuz after Israeli strikes continue. And so the Strait of Hormuz is shut back down. And now I heard them saying that possibly Iran said in the next 2 weeks they'll let about 10 oil tankers go through. 10 in 2 weeks, when usually they would let at least 100 go through per day. So that's like 2 oil tankers a day. Okay, and this is all thanks to Trump. All right, so let's get into it.
What looked like a deliverable outcome for all parties a day ago, now uncertain as the Strait of Hormuz appears to be blocked once again.
No boots on the ground, no bombs in the air! U.S. side of everywhere!
Activists in Chicago weighing in on the Middle East developments today, the day-old ceasefire between the United States and Iran being tested on Wednesday by uncertainty over the status of the Strait of Hormuz and the disagreement over whether the truce applied to Lebanon, where Israel continued to carry out punishing attacks. Iran, which said that Lebanon was included in the ceasefire, accusing the United States of not upholding its end of the deal. And Iran said that Washington now have to choose between a ceasefire or a continued war via Israel.
The deal is a ceasefire, a negotiation. That's what we give. And what they give is the straits are going to be reopened. If we don't see that happening, the president is not going to abide by our terms if the Iranians are not abiding by their terms.
That being the U.S. vice president right there. Now, at least 182 people were killed in Lebanon on Wednesday, according to the Lebanese health ministry. And that makes it the deadliest day of this war. And all this fresh violence threatening to scuttle what the U.S. vice president, J.D. Vance, you saw right there, calling a fragile deal.
Local tax experts are here. Now you can meet with a
Okay, now here's the thing. I'm gonna put the I want you to pay attention because here's what Trump is now saying. Trump is now sitting here lying. I know he's lying, okay, because he's always lying. All right, we already know that. It's not even a question in my mind. But Trump is now saying that the 10 points that Iran put out is not the same ones they showed him. Okay, Trump, if that's true, please show us the points. Okay, please show us the points that they gave you because Trump knows he's lying. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up right here. Such a liar. Do y'all see this? Look at it. Now, I showed y'all this days ago, and we absolutely know that they wanted BB to stop firing on Lebanon. With the greatest humility, I am pleased to announce that the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America, along with their allies, have agreed to an immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon and elsewhere, effective immediately. Please. Okay? And then it has their names on it. Okay, they're all added on here. So, like, please stop. At this point, just stop with the lies. Oh, goodness gracious. Quiet Storm said he's lying. He was humiliated, so he tried to change the narrative. Of course, this is what he always does. But, here is the sad fact of the matter for Trump's stupid self. Trump is a whole fool. We all know that by now. No denying it. MAGA can't even deny it if they wanted to. But the bottom line is this. I do believe, first I said, are they making excuses for Trump? Said that Trump was pulled into this war and all of that. Well, Trump is a fool. And here's what I do believe happened. Remember how Trump came out saying that the war was going to last 4 to 5 days? I think that's what Netanyahu told him. You see, because Trump's an idiot. He's never dealt with a war before. He doesn't know anything. Okay, they've already come out and said, and I forget who said it, but clearly someone who knows Trump very well has said that Trump doesn't read. Okay, he doesn't do a bit of research. They said he doesn't even read the briefings. He just gets up there and wings it. That's why we know he's an idiot. Anybody who doesn't read and research, you're not that smart. Trust me on this. It's a fact. So that all being said, I think Netanyahu properly told Trump, listen, we need to go to war with Iran. Okay, we're trying to start this whole new greater Israel thing, and I'm going to do it with or without you. So are you going to be down with us or what? You want to be on the right side of history? Okay, and don't forget about those Epstein files. And it's going to be quick anyway. We're just going to go in there, take out all of their leadership. We're going to decapitate the leadership, and that's going to be the end of them. They'll have no choice but to bow down. It'll take us all of 4 to 5 days. And Trump was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Because Trump doesn't know what a good idea is. He wouldn't know when if it slapped him in the face. I think that's how it all went down. So I do think that he got played by Netanyahu, who is clearly smarter than him. Okay? That's likely what happened. And so now he doesn't know what to do because remember, going in, he had no strategy because he thought it was going to be quick. Netanyahu probably reminded him of how quickly he got everything taken care of with Maduro over in Venezuela. And so that's all he was thinking about. Not a plan for an exit strategy or anything. He didn't think he needed one. He thought he was just going to go in there and do what he did and leave. And that's not what happened. And so now he's just looking like a fool. He desperately wants out of this war at this point because he sees how everybody's turning on him. He sees that his approval rating is in the tank. He sees all these other nations are looking at us crazy, well, looking at him crazy. And so he just doesn't know what to do. Now, he did that ceasefire, and here's what Netanyahu did. When they did the ceasefire, that was Trump's way out for him. He wanted to just say, rather than just surrendering, and just saying, admitting defeat, which clearly is the case. He wanted to act like, they're asking us for a ceasefire or they agreed to the ceasefire because they're desperate. Now, Netanyahu claims that nobody invited him to the meeting about the ceasefire. So by his logic, he can just keep on going. Okay? But even if they had invited him, I'm pretty sure he would have still done the same thing. Now, with that all being said, and we'll get to Netanyahu in a minute, because I told y'all he's just a person hell-bent on destruction. Let's go to this next post. And this is from Donald Trump. Okay, all U.S. ships, aircraft, and military personnel with additional ammunition, weaponry, and anything else that is appropriate and necessary for the lethal prosecution and destruction of an already substantially degraded enemy will remain in place in and around Iran until such a time as the real agreement reached is fully complied with. If for any reason it is not, which is highly unlikely, then the shooting starts bigger and better and stronger than anyone has ever seen before. It's agreed a long time ago, and despite all of the fake rhetoric to the contrary, no nuclear weapons and the Strait of Hormuz will be open. Okay, y'all heard that? In the meantime, our military is loading up and resting, looking forward actually to its conquest. America is back. Like they never left. Okay? This man is just a madman on the loose. Okay? I'm sorry. Absolutely ignorant. And he just changes, he just changes as the days go by. Now, that all being said, it also, hold on, let me pull this up. And also, there's about 4 countries that have locked the U.S. out of their airspace. Okay, they're not even letting them in. Now, they say that Qatar's decision to withdraw U.S. troops makes it the first Gulf country to do so. Qatar has officially announced the withdrawal of U.S. military forces from the Gulf region, becoming the first Gulf state to do so. Qatar's foreign minister said his country had paid a heavy price for hosting foreign troops. Foreign minister reiterated that determination while describing Qatar's relations with Iran as brotherhood and reaffirmed his determination that Qatari territory would never again be used to undermine those relations. Really? I don't trust them either, and I'm sure Iran doesn't. These are the same ones that gave Trump that huge plane, okay, that jet that cost millions. So we'll see about that. Now, that was just a post. I have to fact check that just to be sure, okay, because some of these people posting stuff don't even know what they're talking about in some cases. Okay, so with that all been said, let's go to This report from the BBC News. And here's the thing, let me just say this too. You know, by the fact that they declared a ceasefire, Netanyahu was on live bragging about how they had hit Lebanon worse and more powerful than they ever had before, that they hit at least 100 targets and hundreds dead. You know, well, I'm sure you did. Because if Lebanon thought that there was a ceasefire that included them as well, well, they were not prepared to be struck. And Netanyahu absolutely knew that. Now he wants to feign stupidity as if he didn't know anything about a ceasefire, that no one invited him to the cookout. But at the end of the day, he knew exactly what he was doing. It was all calculated. And now he has killed hundreds more of those people. Okay, this man's just going around the globe committing genocide. Nobody's going to stop him. Nobody's going to rein him in. And he wants to do the same thing with Iran. Okay, talking about destroying civilizations, those words out of Trump's mouth came directly from the brain of Netanyahu. I'm so sure. And now we have Shapiro, you know, sitting there talking about that according to the Bible, that Iran can absolutely be taken out. Their whole civilization can be taken out. First of all, what Bible is he reading? What Bible is he reading? I want you all to think about this. These are some of the people that sit here and play the victim and sit here and act like everybody's doing them so wrong and so dirty. Okay, and then they want to call the truth anti-Semitic. Okay, some of them, specifically Netanyahu. Then he wants to sit here and have the mainstream media, which we all know who runs, saying all of these things that are absolutely not factual. Did you all hear the report where Netanyahu was telling people that there were babies with their heads chopped off? Y'all remember that? Oh, they were decapitating babies' heads. Please show us the footage. No, matter of fact, don't show us the footage, because Netanyahu is so wicked and nefarious that he himself would chop off babies' heads and then show it. Okay, babies from his own people, and then show it, and then lie and say that somebody else did it. We know he'd do it. Okay, we know he would do it. Now, with that all being said, hip hop culture says big media refusing to call out Izzy breaking deal. Of course, they're not going to call them out. It's not real, never gets called out, beloved. Sadly. Okay, people act like they're so afraid of them, but what are you scared of? Do they have all of your names on a list to blackmail you? Were all of you messing around in the Epstein files? I have so many questions. Okay, thank you for your insight to the topic, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Pensilola says, Queen, hot off the press, edifying teaching truth. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, thank you for your contribution and your kind words. Now, let's go this clip from the BBC. They're talking about Israel's attacks on Lebanon were a grave violation of ceasefire. This is what the Iranian minister tells BBC. Now he's on a call, and you get to hear his audio, hear the audio. Okay, so we're going to go to that. And I wonder. Hold on, let me see something real quick. They just say the minister. I don't know if this is the foreign minister, Abbas Arakchi, who's going to go down in the history as a real boss, okay, as someone who was brave, okay, and not a coward and a liar, okay, like the man sitting in the Oval Office, looking like a whole Cheeto. Please pay attention.
Intentional grave violation of the ceasefire. You cannot have a cake and eat it at the same time. That was the message that Iran sent quite clearly, crystal clearly to Washington and to the Oval Office last night. And our foreign minister also said that you cannot ask for a ceasefire and then accept terms and conditions, accept the areas that ceasefire is applied to, and name Lebanon, exactly Lebanon in that, and then your ally just start a massacre. Actually, it was a sort of genocide, by the regime of Israel in Lebanon, just immediately after the ceasefire was accepted. It is a type of, practice that Israeli regime has always done, accepting ceasefire, then surprise attack, massacring, and that was a very, bold message that we sent last night to Washington. Well, it was a grave violation, intentional grave violation of the ceasefire.
This is what happens when you make a deal with the devil. Okay, the devil is always going to lie. Now let's go to this report from Times Now World where they say U.S.-Iran war. Okay, they say Iran's foreign minister, that's Abbas Araghchi, just dropped the bombshell. No surrender. Let's get into it. This is live. It looks like. Okay, let's go to this because I definitely want to hear what he has to say.
With the United States, we always briefed our Russian friends about the latest about any progress or lack of progress in our talks. Well, I will have serious consultations with the Russian president tomorrow, and we continue to work with each other. Russia is also a permanent member of the Security Council, and we know that they were trying, together with China, to introduce a resolution to the Security Council for the cessation of hostilities. Obviously, now the situation has been changed, and I will have discussion with them at how it should be proceeded.
The final question from IRIB, if we can hand over the microphone to the gentleman right there. Thank you.
خسته نباشید آقای عراقچی. از خدمتتون که دیروز آقای اردوغان صحبت‌هایی داشتن در مورد میانجیگری، فکر می‌کنید نقش ترکیه در این رابطه به چه ترتیب خواهد بود؟ میتونه ترکیه
Thank you. Yesterday, President Erdogan mentioned a mediation instrument. Can Turkey handle such a diplomacy or mediation
activity? با اردوغان رئیس جمهور محترم ترکیه داشتم. هم ترکیه
I had very productive meetings with the President of the Republic of Turkey yesterday, and I also had contacts with some of the countries of the region. Some of the countries of the region, such as Turkey, are indicating that they could be mediating so that
lots of useful, important meetings with the foreign ministers of our region, and we discussed about different initiatives and ideas existed for the peaceful settlement of this question. But as all of you know, we suddenly faced with the aggression by American forces to our nuclear facilities. The Islamic Republic of Iran condemns in the strongest terms the United States' brutal military aggression against Iran's peaceful nuclear facilities. It is an outrageous, grave, and unprecedented violation of the fundamental principles of the Charter of the United Nations and international law. The warmongering and lawless administration in Washington is solely and fully responsible for the dangerous consequences and far-reaching implications of its act of aggression. The US military attack on the territorial integrity and national sovereignty of a UN member state carried out with genocidal Israeli regime, carried out in collusion with the genocidal Israeli regime, has once again revealed the extent of the United States' hostility towards the peace-seeking people of Iran, who will never compromise over their independence and sovereignty. The Islamic Republic of Iran continues to defend Iran's territory, sovereignty, security, and people. by all means necessary against not just US military aggression, but also the reckless and unlawful actions of the Israeli regime. While President Trump was elected on a platform of putting an end to America's costly involvement of forever wars in our part of the world, he has betrayed not only Iran by abusing our commitment to diplomacy, but also deceived his own voters by submitting to the wishes of a wanted war criminal who has grown accustomed to exploiting the lives and wealth of American citizens to further the Israeli regime's objectives. The US act of aggression against Iran's peaceful nuclear facilities constitutes not only a flagrant breach of the UN Charter, especially the prohibition of the use of force under Article 2, Paragraph 4, and the obligation to respect the state's territorial integrity and sovereignty, but also a violation of UN Security Council Resolution 2231. It cannot be emphasized enough how much of a devastating blow that the US, a permanent member of the Security Council, has dealt to the global non-proliferation regime. The Islamic Republic of Iran reminds the United Nations, the Security Council, the UN Secretary General, the International Atomic Energy Agency, and other relevant international bodies of their duty and responsibility to take urgent and decisive action in response to this breach of international law. Silence in the face of such blatant aggression will plunge the world.
You, just you, building your app on base 44. Describe it. And it's real. One thought.
The Republic of Iran calls on the Security Council to convene an emergency session to unequivocally condemn the criminal act of aggression by the United States against Iran and to hold the administration in Washington accountable for its violations of fundamental principles of United Nations Charter and of norms of international law. The responsibility of the IAEA and its Director General, who through evidence bias in favor of warmongering parties paved the way for the current violence and bloodshed, is now clearer than ever. We call on the IAEA Board of Governors to immediately convene and carry out its legal responsibility in response to the dangerous US attack on Iran's peaceful nuclear facilities, all of which have been under the agency's full safeguards and monitoring. The world must not forget that it was the United States which, in the midst of a process to forge a diplomatic outcome, betrayed diplomacy by supporting the genocidal Israeli regime's launch of an illegal war of aggression on the Iranian nation. Not content with such malign actions, the United States itself has now also opted for a dangerous military operation and aggression against the people of Iran. In doing so, the US administration holds sole and full responsibility for the consequences of its actions, including the Islamic Republic of Iran's right to self-defense under the principles of the United Charter. In accordance with the UN Charter and its provisions allowing a legitimate response in self-defense, Iran reserves all options to defend its security interests and people. Thank you very much.
Okay, he's absolutely right. They should have the right to defend themselves. And my thing is, why isn't the UN doing anything about all of this nefariousness coming from the IDF and BB Netanyahu? I just don't get that. It's like the world just pretends that nothing's going on over there in Gaza. Okay, and nobody's supposed to talk about it. You're not supposed to call genocide, and you're not supposed to say what your eyes clearly saw. Like, it's all ridiculous. and annoying at the same time. Now, the big problem for the United States is this. I want you all to pay attention how Trump has allowed Netanyahu to get him in this pickle. And, you know, this is going to be such a mess for the United States. I hope you all are prepared and doing your lifelines and getting everything together that you need, because the bottom line is, by the fact that they have closed the Strait of Hormuz, okay, and they will dictate, because, you know, they're sovereign to the Strait of Hormuz. So that basically they are able to control it. Okay, so that, whether people like it or not, the bottom line is, if they're getting people to pay them for their oil, okay, with yuan, and rather than the petrodollar, and then Russia is doing the same thing, y'all know where that's going, right? Our dollar is going to literally be worth, it's going to be like monopoly money. Okay, please pay attention. Thomas said Lloyd's of London. Yeah, we talked about Lloyd's of London weeks ago. Okay, we talked about Lloyd's of London weeks ago, beloved, because at the end of the day, Lloyd's of London is concerned about paying out all of these millions and billions of dollars for those ships. Okay, if they come through the Strait of Hormuz and get blown to smithereens or whatever, these insurance companies don't want to pay out. So yeah, we know that Lloyd's of London had something to do with the Strait of Hormuz being closed down. But the bottom line is, Iran has control over the Strait of Hormuz. They open it and close it when they want to. Okay? So with that all being said, and here's the thing. Let's talk about it, because, you know, this is all going bad, like I said. Now, think about it. The dollar, the only thing we have to back up the U.S. dollar is oil. Okay, that's the only thing we've had. So, because 1971, President Richard Nixon shocked everybody when he unilaterally ended the long-standing Bretton Woods monetary system. Okay, now, with that all being said, he basically took gold out of the equation. Okay, because the Bretton Woods Agreement was the 1944 pact that 44 allied nations established a post-World War II international monetary system, pegging currencies to the U.S. dollar, which was convertible to gold at $35 per ounce. Okay, please pay attention. Now, the reason they did this was to prevent economic disasters seen between World War I and II, aiming for financial stability and economic growth. Well, we're in an economic decline right now, thanks to Trump's stupid self. So with that all being said, the global financial order that tied the U.S. dollar to gold, okay, that was gone on August the 15th of 1971, when Nixon announced that the dollar would no longer be convertible into gold, effectively making it a fiat currency subject to market exchange rates rather than direct backing by precious metal. This economic shift, part of what came to be known as the Nixon shock, helped to stabilize U.S. finances in the short term, but undermined international confidence in the dollar's value as a reserve asset. So the end of the gold convertibility left a vacuum, and what anchored trust in the U.S. dollar globally. Once currencies began to float and the dollar's value weakened relative to gold, the United States sought new mechanisms to maintain demand for its currency and support its gold economic role. Okay, now this surge intersected with the rising importance of oil as the world's most traded commodity. Okay, so with that all been said, the U.S. absolutely needs people to be purchasing oil in U.S. dollars. Okay, I'm sorry, this is all going down bad for us. All right, so anyway, with that all been said, let's go to the next clip. And you know, because basically, listen, the petrodollar system turned oil into a mechanism, okay, sustaining our dominance. And we're not going to have dominance anymore. We're not going to have power. We're not going to be the world power and all of that. Now, it looks like that's what China is about to become. Sad for Netanyahu, because I know that's where he wanted to be, but that's not going to happen. I pray that it never does. Okay, so with that all being said, let's continue. I'm going to go to the next clip. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, here we go.
Deadline. There were up to yesterday, we'd had 5 shifting deadlines. Now this is the 6th. And the Iranians come out on top. whatever is being said in the United States and whatever is being said in the Oval Office, I think the rest of the world can see that the Iranians are in a stronger position now than they were before the 28th of February when all this began. And they're making their demands. And interestingly, so the Strait of Hormuz is going to be open, in theory, from today. So President Trump seems to say, well, that means we've succeeded. Well, the Strait of Hormuz wasn't a problem before this attack began. And now Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister, is very interesting. He's saying the Strait of Hormuz will be open subject to the supervision of our armed forces and due consideration for technical details. Well, it's nothing to do with the Iranian armed forces or technical details. The Strait of Hormuz is an international waterway. It's nothing to do with Iran. They have no power over it, any more than we have power over the English Channel, as it were, 21 miles straight at the Strait of Dover. That's an international waterway. So the fact that the Iranians are implying that they'll open the straits, given their generosity in opening the straits, means that, of course, they reserve the right to close them again. So we're halfway towards normality on the Strait of Hormuz, but only halfway. And as I say, the Strait of Hormuz was not a problem before this war began.
This is all Trump's doing. He is so ridiculous. Hold on. Listen, I got to talk about him. I got to talk about him, them going in on the Pope. Now, that was just a bit much, okay? It's absolutely nefarious. Did y'all see my video yesterday, my TikTok I did about that? Where's that article I sent to myself? Now, I'm sorry, but that's one thing I'm not going to stand for, okay? What they're not going to do is sit up here and threaten poor Pope Leo XIV because he criticized them. Hold on. This is all crazy. This is how you know they're out of pocket, okay? This is how you know they've lost their damn minds. But they're supposed to be Christians. Ha! What a hoot. Okay, what a darn hoot. Okay, let's get into it. Here's the one I was looking for right here. Now listen to this BS. Pentagon threatened the Pope after he criticized Trump. I guess Trump thinks that since he's down with Izzy, nobody can talk about him either. I'm going to talk about both of y'all. Okay, how about that, Trump? Relations between the U.S. and the Catholic Church have not been the same since January, when senior U.S. defense officials shared an abrasive message with a Vatican official. So days after Pope Leo XIV delivered his State of the World speech, Under Secretary of Defense for Policy Eldridge Colby summoned Cardinal Christopher Pierre. Okay, now mind you, this man is the Vatican's U.S. representative. So they called him for this meeting, got him behind closed doors, and basically tried to go in on him and lecture him about what the Pope had said. Not to mention, they weren't just mad about what the Pope said January the 9th, mind you. They were upset about recently when he's criticized Keck's Breath, when Keck's Breath was talking about kill them all and all that crazy stuff he was saying. Okay, he just sounded like a whole warmonger because that's what he is. But anyway, so nonetheless, he came out talking tough, talking about the United States has the military power to do whatever it wants in the world. Excuse me? So because they have military might, they can just do whatever. Yeah, I know that's what a lot of people who look like Trump think, but that's not the case. Now, the U.S. official present at the meeting, or one of them present at the meeting, brought up the Avignon papacy. And I thought that was very interesting. Okay, so that's from the 14th century. All right, you want to go back in time and then try to have it to where the popes are now under the control of the government and they can't speak freely or express their opinions lest they be taken out, out of their position and then, likely killed or driven to the brink of self-destruction. That's where they want to go. Yeah, that's exactly where they want to go. That's why they brought it up. Now, mind you, the Trump administration took issue with the Pope's critique, okay, and basically they got upset about it. So the Pope's address was dissected and they came to the determination that he was hostile, or that it was a hostile message toward the administration. That's what they say. And they say it was difficult not to interpret Leo's comments, okay, as an Pope Leo. They just called him Leo. That's disrespectful, but let me continue. That it was difficult not to interpret Pope Leo's comments as an immediate commentary on Donald Trump's second administration, which had at that point bombed Iran's nuclear facilities, kidnapped Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, fiercely advocated for the dissolution of NATO, and threatened American allies. Okay, so the Pope clearly could see this is a madman at the wheel, and somebody needs to say something, so he did. Okay, including claiming that the U.S. would seize control of Canada and Greenland. But the blatant intimidation tactic is the first of its kind ever made by American officials to the Catholic Church. There are no public records of any previous meetings between Vatican and U.S. officials at the Pentagon, let alone an instance in which the world power suggested that it could force the Bishop of Rome into captivity. Do y'all hear this? These people are crazy. So the Vatican was so alarmed by the Pentagon's warning that Pope Leo canceled all of his plans to visit the U.S. later this year. Okay, this was reported by Hale, who also noted that many in the Vatican saw the Pentagon's reference to the Avignon papacy as a threat to use military force against the Holy See. That's what they're threatening. I want you all to pay attention. Now, I'm sorry. These people are out of their minds. That's for number one. They act as though they're so religious and they're all into Jesus, God, and all this and that, but they're hateful, wicked, and nefarious. Okay, all they talk about is hateful rhetoric. All they do is make threats of intimidation. How they just get away with this? Like, how isn't everybody calling them out for the devils that they are? And they want to sit here and try to paint a rod as the bad guys, the people who have never been aggressors. I find it all interesting. And you know what I find even more interesting now? Now that we find out the lies that they have told about that whole fake scenario of them rescuing that pilot. Let's talk about that in a second. But I find it all so interesting. So anyway, they say tensions had not been mended by February when the Holy See rejected the White House's invitation to host Pope Leo, the religious order's first U.S.-born pontiff, for America's 250th anniversary in July. Instead, the Catholic leader has arranged to visit a very different locale on July the 4th. Lampedusa, a tiny island between Tunisia and Sicily, where North African immigrants wash ashore by the thousands. Now, Robert Francis Prevost is too deliberate a man to have chosen that date by accident. This is what Hale says. So the White House basically dismissed the entire account, writing a statement that says, reporter Barbara Starr said that the Free Press's characterization of the meeting is highly exaggerated and distorted. Yeah, okay. So the meeting between Pentagon and Vatican officials was a respectful and reasonable discussion. That's what the Defense Department official continued to say, saying we have nothing but the highest regard and welcome continued dialogue with the Holy See. No, you don't. No, you don't, because here's the thing. If you did, why would you have made the comment saying that the Catholic Church or the Vatican better get in line or they better side with us? That's what they said. I'm sorry. How is that peaceful? How is that not disrespectful? How is that pleasant? Okay, see, this is what they do. They lie and then try to act as though you didn't hear what they just said or that you took it out of context in some way. What he literally said, and let me quote him directly. This is Colby talking, Eldridge Colby, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. He said, not quote, the United States has the military power to do whatever it wants in the world. The Catholic Church had better take its side. That's what he said. And then the next person comes in bringing up the Avignon papacy, like I told you. So that was clearly a threat. That's exactly what it was. Okay, how could it be anything but? Please make it all make sense. This is all crazy. Now I'm going to go to the next clip. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Iran war update. Things are getting a little scarier. The U.S. has closed 2 embassies in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, and has ordered the evacuations of citizens across the region in 14 countries. 3 days, a little too late. Why they didn't announce it on Saturday when we bombed, why they didn't announce an evacuation before the bombing, nobody knows. But now the problem is the airspace is closed. U.S. citizens cannot get out. There are approximately 300,000 U.S. citizens in the Middle East. No one knows where to go. They are calling the State Department emergency number for help, and the emergency number makes you wait half an hour, and reportedly then a person comes on, reads you a written statement and says, we can't help you. The Italians, on the other hand, have organized flights to get their citizens out of the region. U.S. Marines opened fire on protesters in Karachi, Pakistan, attacking the U.S. consulate. They breached the first line of defense, and 10 of the protesters were shot dead by U.S. Marines. Many people are asking how the protesters even got that far. The U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia was attacked with a multi-drone attack that collapsed the roof and contaminated the inside with smoke. U.S. personnel continue to shelter in place in that country. Trump is openly supporting groups in Iran willing to take up arms against the regime. Here is your Iran war.
You can't believe anything this administration says. Okay. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this report about the lies told. Let me go to my X account. I mean, they just made up this whole story. They're saying this stuff has all come to light. I mean, here's the thing. Now, you know it's bad when Alex Jones, who has been such a MAGA cult member for years, right? Since Trump's first term in office, who's hated on President Obama. But Alex Jones even had to come out and say that the whole thing was a ruse, said they were trying to steal that enriched uranium. And listen, they say this is all Trump's idea. Okay, that's what they're saying. They say that the Pentagon told Trump this is not a good idea. Trump is so stupid. Why would he even think that was planned? Listen, here's what they say happened. Now, I'm gonna let y'all hear this video, but in this one report that I read, they literally said that they got there, landed, and one or two of them got shot while they were still in the air. But nonetheless, they got there thinking they were going to just snatch up that enriched uranium. And, you know, they say Iran was waiting for them. So they were lying in wait, basically. Now, I want you all to think about how funny that is, because did Abbas Arakchi tell them that we are waiting for you? Didn't he literally tell the fools that if you come there, boots on the ground, we will be waiting for you? Okay? I'm sorry, what? And so they went, and they had to leave in such a haste that the lady, Amanda M. Ryder, isn't that her name? She left her identification there. So that lets me know that y'all left real quick, fast, and in a hurry. It was not a rescue mission. They literally wrote a script and stuck to it. Now, I have to give them an A for dedication to the lies, okay? Because they basically snatched the script from that movie, Saving Private Ryan. Didn't I tell y'all that's what the story reminded me of? Didn't I tell y'all that? And exactly that's what it was. They wrote a whole script. Oh, he was wounded severely. He walked 110 miles. Y'all know that song, and I would walk 100 miles. Isn't that song? So he walked 110 miles through a mountainous terrain after hiding in a cave in a crevice for a whole 24 hours with a sprained ankle, bleeding profusely, severely injured, and nearly dead. I don't know about you all, but I absolutely cannot. Now listen, I'm going to get my laughs in about this whole thing, because you have to laugh to keep from crying. Guess what? We're all going to be crying, okay, shortly, sad to say, when those gas prices continually increase. Now, right, I think gas has gone up like 15% literally overnight. Okay? Wait, they'll say they want an Oscar. Well, they need one after that performance, honey. I mean, they had the lamestream lying arse media in on the scam, telling the lie with them like it was the most heroic rescue mission of all times in the history, the realms of history in the United States. To find out it was all a ruse. Now, sorry. Okay, because the story that they should have snatched from the headlines or the movie script they should have borrowed from would be, in my opinion, Black Hawk Down. Because that's what they look like out there. Okay, shot out of the air. Okay, then they have to run for their lives because the Iranians were waiting for them. Sad. Okay, this is y'all's military. This is y'all's military. Now Trump has the audacity to talk about he's going to start drafting people at 18 years old. Send Barron. Okay, send Barron's ass over there. Please miss us with it. Now, let's go to this clip.
Enemy in Isfahan has exposed a crushing strategic defeat for the United States. U.S. President Donald Trump's frantic threats in the past few days to target Iran's civilian infrastructure, including power plants and bridges, are a direct consequence of the heavy defeat suffered by the U.S. forces in the Isfahan operation. The failed raid was carried out after the enemy conducted extensive aerial reconnaissance operations in the days leading up to the attack, according to the exclusive information. During those initial infiltration and reconnaissance missions, the U.S. and possibly the Zionist regime lost a significant number of aircraft, including at least one A-10 Thunderbolt II and 2 Black Hawk helicopters. The information obtained by Press TV reveals that 0 hour for the failed Isfahan operation was set during a secret meeting at the White House under the direct supervision of the U.S. president himself. It has now become clear that this operation had no connection to the claimed rescue of a downed F-15 fighter pilot, a narrative initially pushed by American officials. Instead, evidence examined and confirmed by Press TV indicates that the real objective was to infiltrate and attack one of Iran's nuclear facilities in Isfahan. The landing site for C-130 transport aircraft, chosen based on previous reconnaissance, was an abandoned airstrip located dangerously close to one of these nuclear sites. The Americans miscalculated, believing that Iran's air defense would be unable to confront the aircraft involved in the operation. However, Press TV learned that the deployment of numerous U.S. aircraft occurred while the Iranian armed forces were in full alert waiting for them. In fact, American special forces fell directly into a trap set by Iranian forces. The Iranian armed forces, including the army, law enforcement, Faraja, the Islamic Revolution Guards Corps, IRGC, and local popular forces, initially did not show a serious reaction to the landing of the first C-130, which was carrying dozens of Special Forces commandos. Evidence shows this aircraft veered somewhat off the runway while landing at the abandoned dirt airstrip. Minutes later, a second C-130 aircraft approached, carrying specialized vehicles, several MH-6 Little Bird helicopters, and other support equipment. At that moment, Iranian forces on the scene targeted the second aircraft before it could land, turning its normal landing into an emergency one. 2 Black Hawk helicopters also arrived shortly after. It was at this moment that the aircraft, helicopters, and commandos who had disembarked from the first plane became perfect targets for the Iranian armed forces. After the special forces realized they had fallen into the trap, the White House Situation Room made a critical decision. The main operation to infiltrate the nuclear site was changed into a desperate rescue operation for the dozens of U.S. commandos trapped under Iranian fire. The Americans immediately sent several smaller aircraft to extract their forces, barely managing to gather the individuals and withdraw them from the deadly situation. The rescue operation was conducted so hastily that some soldiers and officers abandoned their equipment, including, according to the evidence possessed by Press TV, the identification document of an American officer left behind in the area to save their lives. After the commandos were evacuated, American fighter jets established a line of fire with a 5-kilometer radius to prevent Iranian forces from approaching the abandoned C-130s at the airstrip. The jets also carried out heavy bombing of their own equipment to prevent it from falling into Iranian hands. In this failed operation, U.S. Special Forces did not even have the chance to fly the special Little Bird helicopters. Some were destroyed on the ground, while others were destroyed inside the second C-130 aircraft. Following this disgraceful and heavy defeat, Trump hastily and chaotically held multiple press conferences to cover up the failure and falsely portray it as a pilot rescue operation. The information obtained by Press TV notes that the heavy aftershocks of this great debacle for Trump will affect not only the fate of the ongoing war against the Islamic Republic of Iran, but also the political future of America's gambling and ignorant president, his Republican Party, and the American political scene for years to come.
None of it's true. None of it's true. It's BS. They made it up. They lie. How ignorant is that? None of it's true.
Okay, none of it is true. Like, why would you just make up that whole lie? Why would they do it? Somebody make it all make sense. Anywho, let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, hold on. Let me just see something real quick. Because let me say this, okay? I see Pensilola saying that Nice NTMK needs to be put in a timeout. Okay, let me go through the comments and see what you said, Nice NTMK, because let me tell you something. You don't seem to get it. I'm not going to keep talking to you. Okay, you're new to this chat, and one thing that we don't have is people keeping up mess and going back and forth with people. Now, that has happened several times since you've been here. You've gone back and forth with songwriter Sonny. You're now going back with Pensilola, and you were going back and forth with somebody before that, and you even have gone back and forth with me. Let me see something here. Hold on. Okay, that's it for you. Go find another channel because you're no longer allowed over here. Goodbye. And thanks for your super chats. Okay? By the way. Okay, so now let us continue. That all being said, and moderators, y'all must be asleep at the wheel because I specifically told one of you that if Nice NTMK said anything else disrespectful or crazy to anyone, to block them or to send me something and let me know. Yeah, I told you to let me know. I just so happened to see Pensilola struggling. I saw poor little Pensilola who never is getting into a beef with anybody. That's how I always know who the problem is. Okay, but I see poor little Pensilola windmilling. Windmilling in the chat. Okay? The writer said that was green beans, queen. I bet. Okay? You know what? That's probably who it was with a different name. Timeless said, let me be a mod queen. I got you. Okay, I might just have to, beloved. All right? Monty said, all Nice NTMK did was spamming Bernie. Bernie should have been president. It's very annoying. First of all, Bernie didn't even want us to get reparations, so he needs to sit down. He or she needs to sit down somewhere. Okay? But anyway. But here's the thing. Listen, I actually knew they were going to be problematic again because I literally saw them post in the chat the other day when somebody was saying something to them. They were like, I'm just controversial. I can't help myself. And I said to myself, I made a mental note of that. And I said, well, you're going to help yourself or you're going to be up out of here. Okay, so that's how that goes, honey. Y'all, do I need to bring up that old video of me going in on Jag the Diva? Because that's what I should have done. Instead of kicking him out of the chat, I should have first dropped the link to let him get up here. Damn, I forgot. I wish I'd have been thinking. Okay, because y'all, some people just going to have to stop. Let's continue.
Massive destruction in the heart of Beirut, in the center and the west of the city, bustling residential and commercial districts, not just the southern suburbs, the Hezbollah strongholds, though they've been hit too. Is anyone in there? A man calls out, hoping for signs of life beneath this rubble, great piles of it. 100 targets hit across Beirut, the eastern Bekaa Valley and the country's south, all in the space of 10 minutes. Israel's largest attack since the start of the war and weeks in the planning.
I've said temporary ceasefire with Iran wouldn't include Hezbollah, and we continue to strike them with all our might. Today, we've dealt them the biggest blow suffered since the pages. We have attacked 100 targets in 10 minutes in places they were certain were immune and bulletproof.
And there are significant civilian casualties. How could there not be with this amount of firepower and no prior warning? Hundreds killed, more than 1,000 wounded.
It's a crime after crime. They are martyrs. God bless them. What can we do? We are doing our duty. This is a crime. The state has to do something.
This is a separate skirmish, Donald Trump has said, of Israel's fight with Hezbollah, not part of the deal he'd struck. But Iran wanted the guns to stop with this war too, and will be weighing its response. For Israel to hit Lebanon this hard at this point suggests that it is trying to inflict maximum damage on Hezbollah while it still can and before it is forced to stop. We're 10 kilometers from the border here. This is one of those northern communities that has seen its fair share of Hezbollah strikes. And it is towns like this that Israel has said that it is determined to protect at seemingly any cost.
You are looking at this one.
Okay.
Okay, and we are somewhere else.
Sarit Zehavi runs a center which focuses on the security challenges on Israel's northern border. She thinks Israel is right to press on.
We are tired of wars. We want to make sure that this time something will truly change.
Are you prepared to have the war with Iran ongoing if it means that you can keep fighting Hezbollah?
We are prepared to defend ourselves as much as it takes.
But these don't look much like defensive strikes, whatever Israel says. And Iran is taking note. The Speaker of the Parliament posting that negotiations were unreasonable with 3 of their key conditions unmet: the ceasefire in Lebanon, the entry of a drone into Iranian airspace, and the denial of Iran's right to enrich uranium. This ceasefire deal is already soaked in Lebanese blood, even if there are some miraculous rescues. Israel and Iran both have their fingers on the trigger, ready should the other blink first.
Do you want to hear how dramatic the news reporter is? Israel and Iran both have their finger on the trigger, ready for whoever blinks first. I love it. Okay, at least they're telling the truth on that channel. Now, with that all being said, Thomas, thank you, beloved, for becoming a member to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Hip Hop Culture says they tried 2 birds with 1 stone. In fact, of course they did. And it's just all so crazy. You know, I really hate that Trump is so stupid. He sent those soldiers out there and put them in harm's way. Okay, they could have been killed. And, you know, maybe somebody was. Okay, because they did shoot that plane out of the sky. And so anyway, thank you for your insight to the topic, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. And listen here, I want you all to pay attention. Now, Netanyahu, you know, we know that he's prone to doing false flags and all of that, and just telling all these lies and playing the victim. He literally hands out victim cards, in my opinion. So, but you remember that whole thing when they were talking about October the 7th, I believe it was, and they were talking about Hamas attacking them. You know, people are saying that he paid Hamas, okay? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has faced significant accusations and criticisms, both domestically and internationally. You'll see this all over the world, okay? Please pay attention. That his policies help strengthen Hamas, including facilitating the transfer of cash to the group in Gaza. Yeah. Critics, including political opponents and some intelligence officials, even argue that for over a decade, Netanyahu allowed millions of dollars from Qatar to be delivered directly to Gaza to pay for fuel and salaries, which they claim enabled Hamas to maintain its rule and build up its military capacity. So he's doing stuff, you know, deliberately so he can continue to play the victim. Buying quiet strategy, they say. Netanyahu has been accused of adopting a divide and conquer strategy. Wonder where he got that idea from. Because that's exactly what the United States does. Okay, we should be called the divided states. Now, keeping Hamas strong in Gaza to weaken the Palestinian Authority in the Western Bank, thereby avoiding pressure to negotiate for a Palestinian state. Under Netanyahu's authorization, Qatar sent hundreds of millions of dollars into Gaza, often in cash-stuffed suitcases, starting in 2018. This all sounds like a bad movie. Now, they say former Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman resigned in 2018, calling the policy of allowing these payments surrender to terror. Okay, I find it all interesting. He has dismissed, Netanyahu that is, dismissed these accusations as ridiculous and denied attempting to build up Hamas. Sure you didn't, devil. Sure you didn't. I believe anything that he's accused of, he did it. Oh, by the way, I remembered. I have that information about him. All on video, okay, that I'm going to show you all later. I have to figure out how I have to do it, though, so I don't get any copyright issues, because this is like from something someone did on him, not on YouTube or anything like that, but yeah, I'm going to have to edit the video before I show it. But let me tell y'all something. Bibi is a whole mess, okay? He is the devil incarnate, I'm convinced. Okay, and matter of fact, maybe I should even call him Netanyahu, because Satan probably feels insulted when I do that. But let me continue. They talk about intelligence warnings, saying some former security officials, including Udi Levy, a former head of economic warfare in the Mossad, argued that Netanyahu did not act on intelligence that could have cut off Hamas funding sources. The October 7th attack. They say following the 2023 attack, the policy of enabling these payments faced intense scrutiny and a ruthless reassessment. Okay, this man's just all full of crap. He absolutely is just a liar who lies. Now let me go to Douglas McGregor. Okay, he's talking about Iran threatens to abandon ceasefire after Israeli strikes kill hundreds in Lebanon. Okay, this is from hours ago. Let's get into it. I always like to hear what former military has to say about these things because they know all about, the rules of engagement and why to go to war and when not to and all of that. So I'm going to use my overlay so I don't have any copyright issues. I'm going to go to the 6-minute mark for starters.
This game.
Ceasefire. They made that very clear. They hold the strategic initiative. We don't. But on the other hand, you have Secretary of War Hegseth telling us that this is evidence for our great victory over Iran. So you can pick which one you want to believe. I think what's actually happened is as follows. There was some sort of backdoor deal under which Pakistan would submit this proposal that we may well have crafted ourselves in some fashion and said, okay, we'll present this to them and we'll say that this is being presented to you, which is what happened. The 10-point aspect of this whole thing, I think, was simply glossed over by President Trump. In fact, I don't know that any of the details were carefully examined. What they really wanted was a pause. And I think that's what you're getting. You're getting an intermission. Now, how long will it last? I'm hearing from friends in the region telling me that it's already fallen apart. It's completely meaningless. On the other hand, I'm being told by friends in Washington that this is going to go forward and we are going to meet in Islamabad. What are we going to discuss? Well, if you look at the 10 points, and no one has seen a document from Iran that lists these 10 points, but we have a general idea of what's in them. And if you look at them, they're completely unacceptable, totally unacceptable to us because we have taken Israel's position.
Now, let me say this. Someone has seen that document because there was a news reporter that said they had acquired the document. This was on yesterday. Said they had acquired a copy of the document with the 10 points on there. Not like that post I showed you, but the actual document they got from Iran. That's what they said with the 10 points listed on there. And they said that Lebanon was absolutely included. So Trump needs to sit down somewhere with the lies.
And I think this gets to the real point of the whole issue right now. Our interests and Israel's interests, contrary to popular belief, contrary to what President Trump has said, are not the same. We want this thing to end. President Trump was, quote unquote, misinformed. He was told in a few days this will be over, they'll fall apart, then we can move on to other things. I think he was told that by Netanyahu. When he still didn't move, Netanyahu attacked, and we were sort of dragged in to do this. It's been a catastrophe for the world, a disaster for the world, for the global economy. It's not good for us. And so when you look at these 10 points, it's impossible for us to accept them without effectively abandoning Israel. And at this point, I don't think that's going to happen.
So what do you make of, well, here, let me just show you. These are the repeat of those, but he did seem initially to say yes.
Well, he had to do that in order to get any sort of discussion. Jimmy, if you don't say, all right, we'll consider these as the basis for negotiation, which effectively is what we said, you can't meet with them. Now, the point is, the Iranians have just said, until the bombing in Lebanon stops, we're not going to take this ceasefire seriously. In other words, they want it to be region-wide. And it's not region-wide right now. We're trying to separate what Israel is doing from the talks that we want to have. Well, that's not acceptable either to Israel or to Iran. So I don't know where we go from this. Maybe we're still going to have a meeting. Then again, you have to keep in mind that the two gentlemen, Kushner and Witkoff, have both been previously disinvited from coming back. But
speaking of Kushner, he is really like a shadow person, okay? Like he's operating in the shadow government that I told you all about. That's what he's doing. He's operating from the shadows. Now, more and more stuff is coming out about him. And also, it's important to note that he's currently under investigation, supposedly. Okay, and I find that all very interesting. To doing some shady backdoor deals, mind you.
Apparently, they're going to be there along with Vice President Vance.
So Trump got a lot of pushback after it was reported that he had accepted these 10 points and that they were going to work it out further over the next 2 weeks. And so I think that's what that is about. And they're now saying, no, we got rid of those 10 points because he was getting so much. Even Fox News was upset with him over it. And I know, right? So, and so so now they're saying, no, we got rid of those 10 points. Nobody worry about that. And now we have new points. We're not going to tell you what they are. That's a workable thing. So that's why this Saturday meeting in Islamabad with Kushner, Witkoff, and Vance is going forward. Does that make sense?
I think it's as good an explanation as anybody else can come up with. By the way, I didn't know we had a female Ben Shapiro. That's a new development.
Not a female Ben Shapiro. Okay, so now with that all being said, listen, that was Colonel Douglas McGregor. I do believe he's a colonel, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so with that all being said, listen, let's go to this post where the leader of the opposition, okay, and It's Not Real, has now admitted that the country is losing badly. We already knew they were. You didn't have to tell us, but thanks for doing so, that they're losing badly in the war against Iran. Let's get into it. Like stuff, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Here we go.
הציבור תמך מכל התוצאות האפשריות. נתניהו הגיע לתוצאה הגרועה ביותר. השלטון באיראן לא הובס, האיום הגרעיני לא הוסר, הטילים הבליסטיים והטילים של חיזבאללה עדיין מכוונים לכל בית בישראל. מדינת ישראל יצאה למלחמה הזו בקונסנזוס נדיר. הציבור תמך מקיר לקיר, אני תמכתי במלחמה ובמטרותיה. מהרגע הראשון, בעשרות ראיונות בתקשורת הבינלאומית. אבל אחרי 6 שבועות של הרוגים ופצועים וריצה למקלטים.
Are y'all reading the subtitles? Are y'all reading the subtitles? Hold on. He said it became clear. First of all, he said they were running for cover. And then he said it became clear that Netanyahu was incapable of winning
מסוגל לנצח שום מערכה.
Any campaign. The prime minister deceived the citizens of Israel, deceived his partners, and sold the public in a series of theatrical press conferences. A strategic plan that did not exist. Do y'all hear this? It's all crazy. It said that It's Not Real has had no agreement on the deal that was signed that night or signed tonight. This is from yesterday between U.S. and Iran.
בתיווך פקיסטני. ינסו למכור לכם שהשפענו מאחורי הקלעים, שהתייעצו איתנו, שהיו שיחות ליליות ופגישות חשאיות. תדעו אלו שקרים.
He said they're telling hollow lies that they'll try to make you believe. Basically, just to sum it all up, he said that basically they'll try to make you believe that we had, these secret meetings at late at night and that we had something to do with it, that we influenced it, but we didn't. These are just hollow lies. Y'all hear it?
חלולים.
Well, so much for that. It looks like back to the drawing board for Netanyahu and Trump. Okay, because clearly that didn't work. All right, that didn't work at all. Now listen to this fool. He wants them to keep on fighting. Okay, this is Mark 11. He wants them to keep getting our soldiers killed because that's all they're doing.
But I would say this enemy is still the enemy. They're still surviving. Their military may be destroyed, but the communist Chinese will still help them. The Russians will still help them to rebuild. And so this thing's not over. And it's not that I'm a warmonger. It's that they're a warmonger. It's not that I'm an interventionist. They're an interventionist. But
okay, it's easy to sit here and be childish and spew names at your adversaries. But how are they the warmongers? They didn't ask for this war. Neither did they start it. Okay, neither did they start it, and they actually agreed to a ceasefire, but It's Not Real continues to fire. So I'm sorry, you see how these people just tell lies, and I don't know what kind of idiots believe anything that they say at this point. You have to be an entire fool. Okay? Benjamin Netanyahu has been completely humiliated, isolated, and left out of the ceasefire agreement that was agreed upon. Netanyahu, for now, can only point to a map and hope his greater It's Not Real plans somehow come true. Well, I hope they don't, and I hope he goes somewhere and just doesn't come back ever. Okay? And I'm not going to say where I would love for him to go. But anyway, Fox News admits that It's Not Real is extremely upset about the double-sided ceasefire with Iran. It's Not Real has now conceded that this decision was President Trump's to make. This was a big win for America and Iran, and the only losers are the It's Not Reals. First of all, how is America winning? Please let us know. Now let's go to what Joe Kent said. He issues an emergency message that It's Not Real will attempt to sabotage ceasefire deal. Well, you know, he clearly knew that. I mean, he didn't tell us anything we didn't already know, because I absolutely knew that they would do it. Okay? I knew they would do the same thing. They don't want peace. They don't. At the end of the day, do you all realize that every time there's disruption, chaos, and warring in the Middle East, that Netanyahu has something to do with it? How can anybody have peace on earth when he's here? I'm so serious. How can we? Okay, how can we? Now, it has been said, and please listen, and see, this is why I like Putin. I don't care what anybody says. Okay, you can't make me not like Putin. The only way you can make me not like Putin, as far as I'm concerned, is if you show me proof evidence to substantiate that Putin was doing or accused of nefarious things in the Epstein files. Okay, then I'll change my mind. Until then, it's moving on and moving forward. Now, listen to this. As of April 2026, reports suggest that Russian officials or state-aligned narratives have indicated that to ensure global peace, It's Not Real should be internationally isolated. Additionally, Russian intelligence has reportedly analyzed the vulnerability of It's Not Real's energy infrastructure and warned that its isolation makes it susceptible to a total collapse and growing diplomatic tensions. Now, they say Russia has sharply criticized Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's actions in Lebanon and Gaza. See, that's another reason why I do like Putin. I don't care what anybody says. At the end of the day, America can hate him all they want. I think, matter of fact, I know that he is a much better leader than Trump. I don't give a damn if he is nefarious. Trump's nefarious too, okay? And Trump has not said a darn thing, doesn't even care about what's going on over there in Gaza. He just wants to take his stupid stuff over there and build a resort and displace the rest of the Palestinians, who are Semitic people, by the way. So why in the hell isn't the world saying that what's happening to them is anti-Semitic? I'm sorry, what? Okay? Anyway, as I was saying, reports indicate that Moscow has supplied intelligence on It's Not Real's targets to Iran and accused It's Not Real of carrying out illegal attacks on Iranian-related targets. Now, despite these actions, Russian policy sometimes involves balancing its relationships and official statements, often to emphasize a two-state solution to maintain a role in regional diplomacy. It says these reports indicate a significant cooling in Russia It's Not Real relations compared to previous years. So in other words, Putin doesn't like them. Okay, Putin doesn't like them. He thinks they need to be isolated. And here's the thing. Let's not forget that Fidel Castro kicked them out of Cuba. Let's also not forget that Idi Amin kicked them out of Africa. I'm sorry. Let's not forget that we're actually kicked out of 109 countries. Look it up. Now you should ask yourselves why. Okay, I think we can clearly see who the problem is here. And his name is Netanyahu. Okay, Netanyahu is the problem currently. Now, there may have been other problems in the past, which I'm sure there were, but definitely right now it's Netanyahu. Okay, so please pay attention. Now, let's continue. I'm going to use an overlay to see what this man has to say. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Great news this evening that there's been a 2-week ceasefire agreed upon tentatively between us and the Iranians. It's unconfirmed yet if the Iranians have accepted this deal as well, but I hope that they have. It's absolutely essential that we ensure that the Israelis do not sabotage this 2-week ceasefire or eventually the lasting peace that we're trying to achieve with the Iranians. We're on the cusp of being able to have the Strait of Hormuz reopened to hopefully start to get the world energy supply and commerce back online. The last thing we need is the Israelis doing what they have done in past negotiations and targeting the negotiators or taking a series of strikes that escalates the conflict. In order to ensure that we can restrain the Israelis, we actually have to start removing features of the military support that we give to them. We have to take away enough from them that they simply cannot go on the offense, that they're using all their military capabilities that we provide for them and that they have organically for the defense of their country and not for offensive operations inside of Iran. It's absolutely critical that we take this step and don't just take Israel's word for it, that they agree to this ceasefire simply because they have a very bad track record of adhering to these deals. We also have to keep in mind that Israel has a different strategic outcome than we do. Us working towards any kind of a deal with the Iranian government works against the Israeli strategic objectives of toppling this government completely and totally. We have to recognize that in order to properly address Israel, because Israel could spoil any peace that President Trump is working to achieve. So we have to keep that in mind. It's very good news we took this ceasefire. We have to understand that there is no military solution to the conflict right now. Basically, every action militarily that we've taken has only strengthened the regime, and it's done a lot to destabilize the entire region and to take away the security and safety of the free commerce of all of the energy and oil and natural gas that flows out of the region through the Strait of Hormuz. So we have to keep our main objective in mind. It's getting that lasting peace, and we will be the more powerful nation for providing that lasting peace and stability. We will not gain a more powerful position by continuing to escalate the conflict or continuing to strike Iran. In order for us to achieve this goal that we have of bringing about a lasting peace, keeping the Strait of Hormuz open, we have to restrain the Israelis. We have to keep that in mind. So I continue to pray for peace, pray for President Trump, pray for him to have clarity, pray for successful peace negotiations, pray for our men and women downrange in harm's way. Thank you. God.
Yeah, he said, pray for President Trump. Listen, I pray for Trump every single day. Okay, I literally do. All right. Pray for Trump every single day for his downfall. With that all being said, Measurement said, Queen, don't know if you have covered, but the fires in Argentina allegedly was done by who? Netanyahu people to build a mini. It's not real. They are snatching land. The people are asking for help. You know what? I don't give a damn. That's what they get. Argentina, let them come there. Okay, so that's what they get. And let me just tell you something. You see, here's the thing. Argentina is one of the 3 countries that didn't want us to get those reparations. They didn't want to say that the chattel slavery was the greatest atrocity in human history. And you know why they said that? Because Argentina, most of them are so extremely racist. After slavery from 1840 to 1890, or was it 1850 to 1890, they were murdering their Black population. Okay, that's why they're so whitewashed. Honey, they let them come there, so I don't give a damn what those people over there do to them. Good for them. I love that for them. I certainly do. And thank you for giving me that good news. Thank you, beloved, and for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, yeah, go over there and raise hell and wreak havoc on them. Leave the rest of us alone, okay? How about that? Now, with that all being said, let's go to what this retired general has to say. Honey, police. So anybody who doesn't like black folk and just want to murder us, want us to be taken up off the map, oh yeah, I love anything nefarious that happens to you. And in fact, I pray for it on a daily. Okay, let's continue.
After listening to this, if I were a four-star general today in his military, I think I'd walk out of the room saying something along the lines of, we're all going to die, because he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, he has no friggin' clue. At all. After listening to this, if I were a four-star general today in his military, I think I'd walk out of the room saying something along the lines of, we're all going to die, because he doesn't know what he's doing.
He doesn't. There's no lies detected. Said he doesn't have a clue. And I have to agree. Okay? I have to agree. Now, also, let me just say, I got to show y'all this. Now, when I first saw this video yesterday, I said, hold the hell up. Where has my algorithm taken me? Okay? And then after I saw the video, I said, you know what? I got to follow this young man. I have to follow him. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. This is a TikToker.
This audio is horrifying. I mean, this is what happens when you let religious fanatics take over a country. I just threw this in Google Translate to see what they were saying in this prayer, and let me read it to you. Almighty God, who trains our hands for war and our fingers for battle, you who stirred the nations from the north against Babylon of old, making her land a desolation where none dwell. Behold now the wicked who rise against your justice and the peace of the righteous. Snap the rod of the oppressor. Frustrate the wicked plans and break the teeth of the ungodly by the blast of your anger. Let the evil perish. Let their bulls go down to slaughter. For their day has come, for their time of punishment.
Pour out your wrath upon those who plot vain things and blow them away like chaff before the wind. Grant this task force clear and righteous targets for violence.
I want y'all to pay attention. Now, when he was playing the person speaking in Arabic, I'm like, hold on, what's he trying to say here? Trying to imply that Muslims are terrorists? But no, religious fanatics? No. He's saying that that's what America wants us to think, but the real religious fanatic is Cake's breath. Okay, it's them. The call's coming from inside the house. Okay, that's the prayer that Cake's breath said days ago. And here's the thing. That's the reason they're mad at Pope Leo and threatening him. They were not only angry about his January the 9th speech, but they didn't come out and threaten him until recently, just yesterday or days ago, after he criticized that very speech that Cake's breath gave. The Pope said, and I showed you all the footage, the Pope said that God does not bless, basically I'm paraphrasing, but he said something along the lines of, God does not answer prayers for violence and war. Okay? There should be diplomacy. With that all being said, that's what got them upset. Okay, because he felt like, or they felt like, specifically Cake's breath, I'm sure, and other top Pentagon officials who are equally as obtuse as him, clearly, and nefarious, they basically felt like the Pope was challenging or criticizing their militaristic proclivities. Okay, please pay attention. With that all being said, let's continue. This is all just shameful as far as I'm concerned. Okay, all shameful. Let's go to this clip of speaking of religious fanatics, let's go to this Christian pastor who's down with Bibi, Netanyahu, talking about telling the church they need to immediately prepare for the return of Jesus Christ. Sir, Netanyahu doesn't even believe in Jesus Christ. Okay? Hold on. And then you know what really gets me? I'm going to tell you what really gets me. It's when devils, liars, charlatans, false prophets, the wicked, the synagogue of Satan. I hate it when these people come out here and try to use the Bible to justify the nefarious things, the depraved acts, the heinous and egregious things that they do to other people. I hate that. And you try to use the Bible to justify it? Let's continue. This is all crazy. I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. We have 424 people in the chat. We should have 424 likes, as far as I'm concerned. Some of y'all are clearly hating on the Queen. But let's continue.
He has placed his name there. That's in the Bible. Jesus Christ will rule the world from there for 1,000 years during the millennial reign. Isaiah 40, verse 1, God's command to Christians is this: comfort ye, my people, saith your God. There are two elements in this verse. One group is being comforted, and the second group is doing the comforting. It is the mission of the church to comfort and to bless the Jewish people. That's that simple. Isaiah 62:1 says, for Zion's sake, that's Jerusalem, I will not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest. This is God's promise to never stop working while the restoration and peace of Jerusalem are at risk. The most terrorizing headlines that Satan will ever read is that Jesus Christ has returned to Jerusalem.
First of all, what makes him think that Satan reads headlines? Did y'all hear what he just said? The most terrifying or threatening headline that Satan ever reads. So Satan's watching the news?
What do Christians and Jews have in common? One, both of us serve the same God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
I'm sorry, didn't Netanyahu say that they don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God? And then Shapiro went as far as to say they don't even believe he's a prophet. So I'm sorry, y'all serve the same God? I find that interesting, but let's continue.
Jacob. Some of you have other gods. The God you serve is the face you see in the mirror. But the real God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Both Christians and Jews get their spiritual roots from Abraham.
Let me tell you something. I'm not even going to say what I was thinking. Let's just continue. Let's just continue. Sometimes it's best to keep your thoughts to yourselves. Pay attention. Now, let's go to this because Tucker Carlson cites Joe Kent, the guy that just spoke, the one that resigned. Okay, says investigation into the assassination attempt was immediately closed before foreign involvement could be uncovered. Wait a minute, who's he talking about here? Charlie Kirk or Trump? Because there was one post where he talked about Trump and said that Bibi and them was in on it. That's what he said. I don't know. Let's just see what he's talking about here.
To Israel. And we have a right to know why. It's not just because we love Israel and it's the only democracy in the Middle East. And if it is, then our leaders are dumber than we thought they were, but it's probably not that. Because they understand perfectly well how bad this is for the U.S. And there are, believe it or not, a lot of people in the White House who care about the United States. People with power in the White House. They're not all, whatever you think they are, zombies doing Bibi's bidding. Some of them can see very clearly where this is heading. It's heading toward a nuclear strike by Israel.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But here's the thing. He's saying that there's some people in the White House who see where this is going. Yeah, they do see where it's going, but they're not doing anything to stop it. They're just sitting there being yes men and women to Trump, not trying to reel him in, not trying to put him in check, or trying to give him advice that he would actually listen to. And I know it's hard to get Trump to listen because he's a malignant narcissist and they think they know everything. Okay, but and I just find it interesting that Tucker Carlson, who used to visit the White House and have brunch with Trump, is now going in on him. I find that interesting. Now, I still cannot stand this man or Candace Owens. Okay, they're both idiots and always will be as far as I'm concerned. Okay, and here's the thing. What I do love to see, I love to see people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, or in some cases, Candace Owens, as they call her and Alex Jones and Marjorie Taylor Greene, these MAGA cult members or former MAGA cult members. I love to see them going in on Trump. Okay, I love to see the devils bickering and arguing amongst themselves. Because then when they say something about him, he starts calling them names and all of that and disparaging them. And I love to see it. You see the same seeds of discord that they love to spew amongst others with their rhetoric. Now they have sown those same seeds amongst themselves, and I'm here for it. Okay, let's continue.
On Iran, that's obvious. And that would be a world historic disaster. It's also clearly terrible for the American economy, for the American people, not even to mention the Americans who will die in numbers if this becomes a land war. So there are people working really hard, really late, trying to fix this, to get a peace, even one that diminishes us, where we have to take some lumps. They are doing that. That's the only reason we got to where we were yesterday, is because
But he said we may have to take some lumps. Measure Man said, Shirley Caesar said, hold my mule, shouting John. So, sir, have several seats. Measure Man, thank you for that. That was funny. Not hold my mule. Thank you, beloved. And thank you for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, here, I want you all to hear this MAGA idiot. I just want you, I know we already know how stupid they are, but listen, let's listen to this because, again, they're trying to debate this young man who I just love to see this young man debate because he's probably only like 20 years old, but he just really makes them look like the fools that they actually are. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into it. Now listen to what this idiot says.
Because Islam is trying to take over the Western sides of the world, and they're going to abuse your children. They're going to abuse your women. And no, I do not support Trump deporting like Hispanic people. I'm a strong lover of the Hispanic community, but I cannot have our future and our kids' futures being destroyed by Islam.
Now, whoever that is speaking, because they never show her face, you just hear her talking. I think that she called into his TikTok, okay, live. But here's the thing. She sounds like a kid herself, but she's sitting here talking about what she can't have, okay, have them destroyed. Now, you can tell as you listen to her that this is something she has been indoctrinated to believe. Okay, this is clearly something that she has been taught and indoctrinated to believe, and she just is so stupid because did you go and do research for yourself? Okay, that's the only way to escape indoctrination. When you're forced or when you're fed something and it now becomes your belief system, and then you see that it isn't working out for your good, or you see that it's negatively impacting other people, possibly oppressing them or having them, you know, just unrighteously and unjustly demonized and vilified, then maybe you should start doing a bit of research to find out if what you've been in fact taught is the truth. That's called critical thinking skills. Many people don't use them, but let's continue.
Okay, so is America an Islamic country?
It will become one if something doesn't happen.
But like so far it hasn't been?
No, not yet.
Okay, well then it doesn't seem like A, Islam is the issue, or B, Islam is the only issue, considering the fact that until the 1980s, a man could rape his wife and it was completely fine, legally speaking, no repercussions in the slightest. Today, child marriage is still legal in 12 states. And on top of that, we see that women who are raped and impregnated, even if they're 9 years old in 10 of our 50 states, are then forced to experience torture for the next 9 months because they can't legally access abortion, on top of about 1 billion other issues too.
I actually agree with you that we do have issues like that. I absolutely agree with you. But
and did we make a rapist president?
All of them are bad. All of them. There is no good options.
Okay, but the boogeyman's Islam, right?
Yes, they hurt people in the streets. They'll hurt a woman walking down the street in front of a police officer. They do not care.
Okay,
they have
so they're more likely to commit
very
things.
Violent.
Okay, they're very violent. Sounds good. What is your evidence of this?
Western media, everything. I see it all over the social media. Look at the third world countries. We do not want our Western civilizations turning into those things. I'm not saying deportation is good, but
can I ask you another question?
People cannot be here.
Foreign people can't be here because they're violent?
No. Just Islamic. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Hispanic, or Arabic. But
okay.
So she wants. Let me get this straight. So she wants to pick and choose who can or can't be here. Some foreigners, the ones that she likes and gets along with, they should get to be here. But the ones that she doesn't, they have to go. Do you see how insidiously obtuse that is? How dumb that is? How asinine? And that's exactly how MAGA thinks. That's exactly how they think. Now, she's making all of these claims against Islam, but doesn't even have any knowledge, truth, or facts of Islam. Doesn't even really know what it is, okay? And that's obvious. Now, someone said she sounds like she's like in the 6th grade or something. She does sound young. But the bottom line is, I think that that's an adult, okay? Because she said our children's futures and all of that. The bottom line is, honey, you sound stupid, and that's because you are. But let's continue.
Just Islam in general is not good.
How many Muslims were there in the Epstein files?
Oops. They don't even need the Epstein files. They just are the way they are.
Like everybody in the Epstein files was like what? For the most part, like white men, either Christian or atheistic. Yeah. All right.
The problem is everybody's
so,
in the Epstein
files. So you're in the Epstein files?
No, like politician-wise.
Oh, Kamala Harris was in the Epstein files?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, she wasn't.
But she's associated. I guarantee you she's a part of it. Everybody is.
Okay. So what's your evidence that Kamala Harris is incriminated by the Epstein files?
I don't have any evidence.
So you believe in things without evidence?
No, I just didn't really look into the Epstein files because I don't believe in any politicians that are
corrupt. Clearly you've looked into Islam and Muslims being super violent because that's a claim that you made joining the live stream. Can you give me any evidence that Muslim Americans are more likely to be convicted of violent crimes than non-Muslim Americans?
Y'all heard that. A complete idiot, okay? And that's the sad gist of the matter. And here's the thing. You know, I'm so sick and tired of people that are immigrants to this country, people whose ancestors are not even from here themselves, trying to dictate who can come and who can stay. The fact of the matter is, the Mexicans and the natives who look like them, those are the same darn people. Y'all know that, right? Y'all know that the Mexicans and the Native Americans who look like them, and I specify the ones who look like them because some of them look like me, okay, because I'm native too. I'm indigenous to this land, okay, known as Turtle Island, and I don't consider myself an African American. That's not on my paperwork anywhere. I had it removed as soon as I got some sense. But with that all being said, that's a misnomer. That's a misnomer, and it's a trick. And let me tell y'all something. By the fact, well, I don't want to get off topic. I'll tell you all about that later. But the bottom line is, they want to say that Mexicans don't belong here when the Mexicans were here before they were. Okay? Let's go to a clip from one of my favorite activists by the name of Quanell X. Okay? Let's go to him talking to this foolish lady. Okay, to this foolish lady who seems to think that she gets to pick and choose who can stay and who must leave. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, here we go. Hold on, let me read a couple of the comments. Thomas says Trump's great-grandfather is a nefarious illegal immigrant from Germany. Of course. Absolutely. Okay. They made their family fortune allegedly off of a brothel, owning a brothel, and illegal substances. Okay. Now, I'm sorry, but Trump, and then let's not forget about Melania and her family, how they got here. So Trump needs to sit down somewhere, is all I'm saying.
Black people, don't fight them by yourself. If you hook up with black people and we unite, I'm telling you, we can run Texas and then pass laws to deal with those who hate us.
You're advocating for criminal activity, Cornell. These people are not here lawfully. They need to do what our ancestors did, what many Mexicans have done.
No. Wait a minute.
Many. Don't interrupt
Your
me.
ancestors came here illegally. Wasn't nothing legal about your ancestors. They came illegally and they murdered, they raped, they pillaged a whole race of people. This country, Texas, Arizona, and California, belongs to Mexicans.
Cornell, get back
it was
to the
stole from them.
You tell me to get back to the
ancestors,
point.
They came here. Don't fight them by yourself.
And it all so interesting. Okay? And see, that's the problem. People like her, they have the audacity to think that they get to decide who can stay and who leaves. You're not even originally from here yourself, lady. Neither are your ancestors. Like, make that make sense. It's just the nerve of it all, the hypocrisy and everything that comes along with the foolishness. Okay, I just find it all so interesting. Now let's go to this next clip. Hold on, give me a second, beloveds. Something happened to my tab. It closed itself out or something. Okay, so now let's go to this other one. Hold on. I'll have to pull this back up. Okay, here it is. Let's go to this other one where Quanell's arguing with this man about the natives.
Trump presidency, we will finally evict all of these illegal aliens that are coming here and stealing jobs from Americans. If you break into my house, should I just accept you because you washed my dishes and made my beds? I say no. I say you need to go back and come back in the right way.
So is that what the Indians should have told white Americans? The original illegal alien or European white folk in America?
Agreed.
And so should the Indians stand up today and say deport all white folks back to Europe?
Well, should we learn something from their mistake? Because we are here now.
Or should you learn something from their compassion to give other people an opportunity like was given to you and your ancestors? Learn from their compassion. That's what you should learn from.
I say learn from their mistakes.
Letting in the white man was the worst mistake that the Indians ever could have made. I agree with you. That was one of the greatest mistakes. Even right there in South Africa, they got a similar problem.
No lies detected. Now, with that being said, listen, that's a good question. I did see that clip. Hold on, let me see who gave that comment. Somebody, Pentilola said, did y'all see the man running for governor in Florida? Said the black man should be lynched. He said the black guy should be lynched for the question that he asked him. I have that somewhere in my email. I'll see if I can find it while y'all listen to this. Quanell X is going in on this man, and the man gets so mad. Like, okay, I find it interesting that, they love to try to say that we are angry. They love to try to depict black people as angry. Well, here's the thing. And they purposely, when having a conversation with you, one of these racist people, when they're having a conversation with educated black people, what they often try to do is to say something provocative to arouse your anger, to trigger you, to get you upset. That's what they try to do. So then they can depict you as the angry black man or the angry black woman. Here's what I have to say to that. I will always speak to them when I'm angry as if I am angry, because I have a right to be angry. Because the Bible says, and I quote, that surely oppression maketh the wise man mad. All I'm saying is, if we are angry, we damn sure have a right to be. And what people like this guy you're about to listen to should be grateful for is the fact that we don't exhibit our anger with violence, hate groups, and lynchings the way they have. That's what he should be glad about, okay? Us being angry should be the least of their worries, is all I'm saying, because it could be a whole lot worse. All right?
Why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here? Young 10-year-old, very intelligent-looking young lady, a black young lady who will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in her classroom. She doesn't want to stand up because apparently she believes that black Americans need a lot more to be done in this country. You know what I believe, Cornell? And I know you supported her publicly. I think at 10 years old, she has no real understanding of what America is. So I wonder if her parents have sat her down and explained what Americans have given their lives, white, black, red. It doesn't make any difference. They stood and they fought and they died for this country, and she doesn't want to do anything to honor them?
She comes from a family of military service members. Her father's is a retired military service member also who served this nation well with great dignity.
Good.
Her mother's a very intelligent woman. What white people need to understand
Just
is that,
white people.
Yes, please, let me explain. That national anthem was written by Francis Scott Key, a slave owner.
Oh, here we go.
Who demonized and hated black slaves and black people. Go research the third verse where he says, there's no refuge in this country for the hireling or the slave. Both should be turmoil to the grave.
How's her parents do it?
This is a man
Are they successful?
that promised turmoil for black people to the grave. Would you ask Jewish children to say a pledge to a German anthem that disrespects Jewish people?
they're
No, you
living
would
in
not.
Germany,
No,
sure.
you would not.
Well, sure.
That disrespects Jewish people?
Then
No,
why?
you would not.
You certainly can kneel down. In America, you have the right to do that.
America looked at the same way at Rosa Parks when she refused to get up and give up her seat to a white man on the bus. But history vindicated her. History vindicated her. America demonized Harriet Tubman for freeing slaves from slavery, but history vindicated her. So I say to that young girl, you stand strong, stand up, and stand for what you believe in. And to all of those who are too coward to do it, don't get in that young girl's way. Others like her, support that young girl.
What would you like her to say to the men and women who have fought for this country like I ran into over the weekend? The black men and women who fought for this country and some who gave their lives.
And ask the black men and women who served America in its military, like in the Independence War. We helped America get it, and we were still slaves after. Ask those in Vietnam who gave their war on Vietnam battlefield, but then came back and was called niggas in their own country. We have fought in America's war, and we've never been given the justice and the due process of everybody else in this nation.
Then why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here if you don't like it?
Let me tell you why. Because the country belongs to Indians. You white folks stole it from them, raped and robbed their people. This not your country. You all came over here and stole it and beat the hell out of them. So this not your country.
It was my country.
You all need to go home.
If you're
you
not
all need to go back where you came
if
from.
you don't like it, why don't you pack up and go?
Let the Indians decide who should pack up and go. And I guarantee you black folks will stay, and you all will be on the first damn boat leaving here. So don't try that, brother. You all didn't make America. This is not your country.
What you should do is sit down with someone who has fought for this country, Cornell. Get their opinion too.
Tons of black people have, and what have we gotten from it?
Then why don't you move to a different...
You like his nerve. I like his nerve, okay? Please pay attention. Telling Cornell that he needs to go to a different country. Sir, why don't you go? He has all rights to be here. Okay, more than I can say for you. Now, here is Mr. Fishback. It took me a minute to find one without the music in the background because a few of them on TikTok have music playing. Okay, so I'm going to go to the clip of Fishback telling a black man that he needs to be lynched because he didn't like what the man said. I find it all so interesting. And see, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. If we get mad at them, do we tell them that they need to be lynched? No. Okay, we don't even think of that. We may say something to them, but I'm just saying lynching specifically, no, because we don't have a history of doing that. Okay, and so they could stop with the cap trying to dare to compare themselves to us or anything that we say, you know, trying to say it's reverse racism. There's no such thing as reverse racism. Reverse racism would mean that racism doesn't exist, and it does. Okay, let's continue.
All right, so there's like a girl named Ceasefire.
Have you spoken to her?
I have not talked to her. I haven't talked to a single Epstein victim either. I've never talked to Kanye West. I know he's a real person too. Never talked to Trump. I know he's a real person. Sure. So tell me about Ceasefire, bro. Why is she saying that you guys slept together when she was 17 and you were 27?
When did she say that?
She said it in court.
In court.
In court.
I'm glad it was in court.
Before you ran for office.
I'm glad it was in court. What happened? What did the judge say at the end of that court? He dismissed that. It was 7 hours of testimony. You should know that when something goes to court,
cyber stalking, not about smashing when she was a minor. Hey, bro.
You want to listen?
Hey,
bro.
Why is he not answering the question, bro?
I'm happy to answer the question, dude.
Did you smash? Was it missionary back shots? What was it?
I don't want you ever speaking about women in our state like that ever again.
I don't want you ever smashing girls, teenage girls, in our state ever again. So promise me, never smash a minor again.
Why haven't I been arrested?
I don't know.
Okay, y'all heard what he said. Y'all heard what he said, and then these people act like we're not supposed to be angry. Of course we're angry. Some of us are anyway. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and smile about it, pretend everything's peaches and cream. No, I'm going to call it out for what it is. All right, and I don't care who gets mad, and neither should any of us. At the end of the day, you see, here's the thing. The people that say that we love to play the victim, which we don't, we are the victims, okay, and the survivors at the same time. But the people who say those things, they're the ones that play the victims. How do you try to say reverse racism? That's you trying to play the victim. Okay, that's what that is. Now them saying that, white people are being, their jobs are being taken by immigrants. That's them again playing the victim. The immigrants are not coming here taking their jobs. Okay, that's what's not happening. The ones of them who complain and whine and cry about DEI, they're playing the victims. It's so interesting that the main people on the planet who play the victim, okay, other than Satan Yahoo, okay, at the end of the day, you cannot say that we're playing the victims. We don't have to, because y'all have made us the victims with your Jim Crow, your chattel slavery, the police brutality, the redlining, black codes, you name it. Now, I'd like for them to make a list of egregious things we purposely, intentionally done to them for decades, even for a period of 5 years. Give me something that proves that we are oppressing them. They can't come up with anything because there's nothing to come up with. Okay, there's nothing to come up with. So miss us with it. Miss us with it, okay? Now, with that all being said, y'all know something? I just thought about I kicked nice M10K out of here this morning for being nefarious as usual because I was tired of talking to him. But here's the thing. I actually had this to show them. I remember that day when nice M10K kept trying to go back and forth with me talking about the moon landing was real. That should have told y'all how nefarious and obtuse that person was. But here's what I found for them. I found another receipt for them the other day just for kicks. Okay, that's right, Thomas. Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. Exactly. Black Wall Street. And here's another thing. Y'all know that that's where the Gap Band got their name from because they were from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they lived right in that area that was bombed. Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. GAP. That's why they call themselves the Gap Band, and they initially called themselves Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. But that all being said, that's why they wrote the song, You Dropped the Bomb on Me. That's a little tidbit of history for those who didn't know. Now, let's go to this young man's video where he talks about, how foolish he feels basically now that he knows the moon landing was fake.
Someone once told me that the moon landing never happened, and I looked at him like he was a tinfoil hat nutter and told him to get out. I told him to stop spitting on the greatest human accomplishment of all time. And then he asked me, well, Reese, right, how did they get through the Van Allen belt? And I didn't know what that was. And he told me what it was, radiation and also heat that surrounds the Earth, that at its hottest is 20,000 Kelvin and its coldest is 2,000 Kelvin. And then he said to me, how long do you think it takes for the aluminium shuttle, which melts at 900 Kelvin, to get through the Van Allen belt? And I said, well, it must go really quickly. It must be like, I don't know, 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So it must be like I don't know, maybe it's, he said it takes 50 minutes. And I was like, wow, okay. So they must have some protective shield around it or something. Maybe it wasn't made out of aluminium. And then he said, yeah, well, think about the fact that they've got to come back through the Van Allen belt as well. So they've got to spend, give or take, an hour and 40 minutes in radiation that at its coldest is 2,000 Kelvin and hottest is 20,000 Kelvin. And I was like, hold on a minute. Something's not adding up here. And then you start to look at the pictures that they took. Then you start to look at the boot print on the ground that didn't match the boot. And you start to lose your mind. And you realize everything's a lie. Someone once told me that the moon...
Okay. Most things that we've been taught are absolutely lies. All right. And then as far as them getting through the Van Allen belt, let me give you what NASA's explanation for that was. They claimed that They used flight trajectory that avoided the most intense radiation zones. Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's a convenient answer. Okay, I don't believe it's true at all. I don't believe it's true at all. And now y'all have people going to the moon, but instead of actually landing on it, they're going to go around it? For what? For what? Okay, please make it all make sense. Just the lines for me. So anyway, with that all being said, let me see if I have any more clips before I roll out of here. Governor Josh Shapiro, let's hear what he said. He was on MS Now. Well, actually, I don't think he was on here, but the lady was quoting what he said because she obviously spoke to him. Okay, Shapiro tells MS Now Trump's war with Iran has wreaked havoc across the globe. Tell us something we don't know. Tell us something we don't know.
I noticed as I looked at the lineup of folks speaking, it was pretty heavy with people who have been talked about as potential 2028 presidential candidates. And I guess you spoke to one of them, Governor Josh Shapiro. Tell us about it.
Yes, Chris, that's right. Josh Shapiro, he completely dodged all questions about his presidential run, but he did have a lot to say about President Trump's recent comments on social media about Iran and then the claims of a ceasefire. He said if that were to go through, that would have been another case for war crimes against President Trump. I'm going to play a bit more of the conversation I just had with Governor Shapiro. Take a listen. If you could speak directly to President Trump about everything, the back and forth in Iran, what would you want him to know specifically, and especially about the finances of everyday Americans that have really been eating the cost of this?
I think the president's war of choice, a war I do not support and have not supported, has not only wreaked havoc across the globe, it's made things far more difficult for the American people. Whether it's fuel prices, whether it's the cost at the grocery store, whether it's the cost of your health care, Donald Trump is directly responsible for making everything cost more. And we are now saddled by that.
Shapiro mentioned that he really wants to focus on the midterm elections and making sure that both houses of Congress go toward the Democrats. He says he's been strategizing with Representative Hakeem Jeffries to make sure that happens. And here at the NAN conference, he just spoke on stage about the importance of collective community action and making sure people strategize and actually get to the polls and bring other people to the polls to make the Democrats' plan happen as we.
When I tell y'all, this country is doomed. Good question, Love Christie says, sir, do you take AIPAC money? Well, he's one of them. So I think that if they're giving out money, he'd likely be taking some. Now, that's just my opinion. I don't have proof of this, mind you. But I did have a report the other day about the ones that were taking it. Hold on. Remember the other day when Ashkan was in the chat and he said APOC Shakur? Okay. Well, let's see here. This isn't looking good. Okay, so now here is a list of some of them. A list of politicians funded by AIPAC. Okay, so they have the top recipients. They don't give all of them, mind you, but these are the top ones that they list. Representative Richie Torres received over $200,000 in a single reporting period. And then you have Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the top recipient with over $535,000 in the 2024 cycle. Representative Josh Gottenheimer, major recipient of POC funds. They don't list how much. He must have got millions, likely. Representative Steny Hoyer, high cumulative funding. They don't give the amount. Speaker Mike Johnson received substantial donations following the 2023 Is Not Real Aid package. If this is all you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. This is clearly inappropriate. This should be illegal. Okay, this is in fact a conflict of interest. How do you take all of this money and then when these people come and ask you to do things for them, you don't do them? Of course you're going to do them. And that's why they gave you the money in the first place. This is bribery, in my opinion, and it should absolutely be outlawed. Okay? Representative Haley Stevens and Representative Glenn Ivey benefited from heavy APAC spending. It's from their PAC spending, it says. Doesn't give the amount. So, it's safe to assume. But here's the thing. Before you vote for anybody in midterms, you should all be making sure who those people are and what they are about, and also whether or not they have received funding from APAC ever. Okay? Ever. With that all being said, hell, it might not be that many people left for us to choose from. I'm just being honest. This country is just doomed, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, it is just really doomed. Now, with that all being said, listen, have you guys heard about something? I'm about to be out of here. I'll come back later. But have you guys heard about Bill Gates wanting to have a phone tattoo? Has anyone heard about that? Once in the chat. Once in the chat. Mr. Elevation said that's how they stay rich. Yeah, that and insider trading. Insider trading, I'm telling you, they do that as well. They're not going to admit to it, but that's what they've been doing. So let's talk about it. Bill Gates is a nefarious man, okay? Listen to this. Bill Gates has not received the tattoo as of yet, mind you, but he has previously expressed interest in technology developed by companies in like Chaotic Moon, which involves using electronic tattoos to replace smartphones. Yeah. These tech tattoos use sensors to monitor health metrics such as vital signs and can potentially track location and connect to personal devices. See, this is what he's working on right now. I want y'all to pay attention. This is something that he is likely invested in because he keeps talking about it. Okay, now the digital tattoos aim, and I want you to pay attention, them talking about this will be used for medical or health metrics, for vital signs and things like that. See, they want to tell you that because to some people that sounds good. Specifically people who have health issues. Okay, so like if they passed out, then the EMS could come and just check their tattoo or whatever, scan it, whatever they have to do to find out exactly what's going on with the person. Yeah, that might sound good to some people, but what else can it do? It's all nefarious. Goes on to say, the digital tattoos aim to gather data, including heart rate and body temperature, and probably whatever's on your mind, okay, whatever you're thinking, which I think they're already doing that on Google, if I'm just being honest, because I could swear that sometimes if I'm typing in something on Google, now I know that the algorithm can guess at what you're going to say. But sometimes if it's something random, how the hell does it know what I'm about to say? And types it in. Let's not forget that day that I told y'all ChatGPT was literally conducting a whole interrogation with me. Now, I was going along with it because I wanted to see where it was going, but it was all nefarious. So anyway, it goes on to say, the digital tattoos aim to gather data, including heart rate and body temperature for health monitoring and to potentially replace phone functions. Chaotic Moon Studios which was acquired by Accenture, has been a key player in creating these wearable, ultra-thin circuits. The digital tattoo market is projected to reach $4.9 billion by 2025, and it's considered a future development in wearable technology. I'm sorry, it's a no for me. But here's what they're going to do. I want you all to pay attention. Now, they're acting as though we'll have a choice in the matter. I guarantee you, if they come up, not if, but when they come up with this bullshit, they're going to try to force us to comply. They're going to say, well, if you can't use this, you're not going to be able to go to the store and purchase things. If you can't use this, you're not going to be able to get services. Watch what I'm telling you. Okay, don't forget you heard it here first. And don't forget that I told you today is April the 9th of 2026. Okay, remember that. Now, with that all being said, let's go to some videos about it where they try to give us like a little preview of just how this might work. And this is how you know they have it already in the plans. This is all nefarious. Trisha said, I want my landline phone and pager. Okay, that's what I said, honey. It's a no for me. They come up with this BS. I'm definitely going back to a landline. Get out of here, please. Yeah, I'm not here for it. It's going to be a no for me. Okay, it's absolutely going to be a no for me, please. So anybody interested in that? Is anybody interested in that? Because I'm sure not. Okay, I am sure not. Hold on, I have one more clip I want you all to see. This guy was on Piers Morgan, and when I tell you, he gave Piers a taste of his own information. I mean, not of his own information. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking. But he gave Piers a dose of his own medicine. Let me pull up the clip, and then we're out of here. Also, this guy said that he was doing videos about Trump and that he would get all of this hate mail and people talking crazy and all of that. But then he said now, after Trump's doing all this BS, he said now that Trump's doing all this BS, he said the hate mail, the pile is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Listen, that's the way you can support the stream absolutely for free. It won't cost you a darn thing, okay? And you can show your appreciation for my hard work and dedication to giving y'all accurate news that counts, okay? And lifelines to boot. Okay, so please hit that like button. Thank you. Y'all remember that day somebody had the nerve to tell me, stop begging for likes. Excuse me, begging? Honey, I shouldn't even have to remind you all to like the video, okay? Now, with that all being said, let's get into it. Here we go.
Not looking good for Piers Morgan.
You make yourself look like an idiot every single day when your wife is at home posting pictures that you're out and she wants to get used like a toy by a big black man who is cleaning her car. Is that why you have a problem with me?
I think you're a fucking idiot.
Listen, sir, I don't know why you come on and you talk like you're holier than thou. As soon as you're away,
All right,
who's this? Applications are open.
All right, let's
That's your thing, bro. That's your girl.
That's this, please.
Cooked.
You know what? I'm not doing this.
Wow.
Guys. It's pointless. Man, damn, bro. This is not looking.
He told him, did he not? And then he showed him a picture of his wife lying on the floor. And it said something, come get me. I can't remember what it said, but not that he brought receipts. Not that he brought receipts. I am so done, okay? Poor Pierce. He didn't deserve that. Yes, he did. Oh, hilarious. Dad said, wait, someone said that Queen? Yeah. Absolutely, they said it, beloved. Okay, I am sorry. Make it all make sense. Yeah, Dan, sometimes they try to go in on the poor little old queen. I'm going to have to start roasting people for filth again. Okay, are y'all here for it? Next person talks crazy, I'm going to drop that link. Okay, I'm going to drop that link. All right? Nene said, should we have a moment of silence in remembrance of nice empty? I'm honestly mad at myself because rather than just banning them, I should have dropped the link and let them get up here if they wanted to. Okay? Do y'all ever notice that it's always the people that don't have a profile picture that are always the ones that are talking trash or keeping up chaos in the chat? Do y'all ever notice that? What if Nice M10K was actually Lord Wind? Do you all remember Lord Wind? He used to come here and talk all that trash and just start mess and all that. And I let him stay and just gave him chance after chance after chance. And they just couldn't stop themselves. So I had to put a stop to them. Okay? Desmond said they're watching from the bushes. Well, of course they are. Okay? Of course they're still watching. They're right. I want you all to pay attention. Trisha said, I'm here for, I am too, beloved. At the end of the day, let me tell y'all this. Listen, I feel like I am more than, I feel like hold on. World's stupidest president, Sachs blast Trump. Let's go to it. Not Sachs going in on Trump again. Hold on, I'm going to use an overlay because I don't have permission. I know I said this is going to, listen, feel free to leave if you have to go, because I did say this is going to be the last video, but I want to hear what this man is saying. Timeless said nasty work. LOL. Okay. Absolutely nefarious. Okay, let's go to this clip. And I might have to find a flashback for you all before I roll out of here. Hold on. Let me put my overlay. I'm going to have to get a different overlay without Trump's face on it because I know y'all get tired of seeing it. I do too.
To proceed on the negotiations. And Mossad, which is a murder machine, said, oh, they're all together. Let's kill them all. And Trump said, yeah, that's a splendid idea. Let's kill them all. And that's why the strike occurred at that moment.
Because Iran has already rejected at least 2 US proposals that we know of at least. Do you think Iran is negotiating from a point of strength?
Well, these aren't negotiations. These are demands, unilateral demands by the United States. Surrender. That's all they are. So the U.S. isn't negotiating. What has the U.S. said about Iran's security? What has the U.S. said about its military bases attacking Iran? What has the U.S. said about Israel, the worst rogue nation in the whole world, which dreams of overthrowing Iran and casting plagues on Iran? Nothing. The U.S. says nothing except here are our demands. And if you don't meet our demands, we send you back to the Stone Age. That's not negotiations. That's pure thuggery.
And what does Iran want right now?
Iran wants a peace and not to be attacked again, not to be killed again. And it doesn't quite know how to get that because it's got 2 psychopaths on its trail. And one of them is the President of the United States.
Professor, you were quite angry about the fact that why aren't world leaders speaking up? But
Yes.
world leaders, especially NATO leaders.
Well,
and,
NATO, I give up on NATO. Look, if you have a U.S. military base, you're not a sovereign country. This is a basic proposition. These are occupied countries. Why the hell would France, or even less than France's special case, why would Germany have U.S. military bases 80 years after the end of World War II? 80 years. Why would Japan have U.S. military bases 80 years after the end of World War II? And this is true all over these NATO countries. The U.S. controls these countries. These are not independent countries. They barely can make a coherent sentence, unfortunately. All they say at the UN is attacking Iran. They don't even say that Iran has been attacked. It's very predictable to keep the scorecard at a UN Security Council session. If the country hosts a U.S. military base, it says Iran is an aggressor. It's like turning the world upside down because they just absolutely cannot say the truth about the country that occupies them. This is why I've said to India all along, for heaven's sake, don't join the Quad. Are you kidding? India had enough of colonial rule. Don't become part of America's empire. It's a big mistake. But these countries are part of America's empire for the last 80 years, so they don't even think straight. They don't even know what it means to think independently. The only one that's made any sense at all is the president of Spain, President Pedro Sanchez, who said, I'm not getting involved in this war. And then Trump said, we eliminate Spain from the map. I don't remember exactly how he put it. But you see, the American mindset in general in Washington is we control everything. And then the Trump mindset puts that into a delusional degree that I control everything and nobody talks back to me and I punish whoever I want. That's what you get into. So all of these countries are afraid to say a word. They're just afraid. And it's
I have to agree. So hold on, beloved. Okay, so listen, it just came to my attention that they're having Diddy's appeal hearing this morning. Did y'all know that? Disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs returns to federal court Thursday to appeal his federal sentence following his restitution conviction last October. My, how time flies. Okay, so I see, hold on. I'm trying to find where it's live on here. Hold on, beloveds. Let me see something real quick because I'm being nosy. We really don't have time to be worried about Diddy and his appeal hunt with all Trump's got us going through. Okay? Trump's trying to send us all to hell with gasoline draws. Pay attention. Pay attention. Hold on. Let me see here. Hold on. Hold on. 7 minutes ago, this just in. Trump and Netanyahu immediately break. Oh, we already saw that. We already talked about that. But hold on. Ben Masalis from the Midas Touch says that. Here's a report from him from an hour ago says Trump loses it as Iran destroys his life. Do y'all hear this? Hold on, let me see what he's talking about. While I look for the Diddy thing and see what's going on. Okay, he said Trump's crashing and burning. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. Now, Diddy's up here fighting to get out, having a whole appeal process and all that. While these other devils in the Epstein files are just walking around, free, living life like it's golden. Nothing to see here, folks. Okay? Rich white men with billions. Yeah, they don't get sent to prison for their nefariousness. And when they do, they get busted out and flown up out of there. And we're told that they committed self-deletion.
Out as his ceasefire is collapsing and Iran is celebrating their victory over Trump and his regime. Iran is posting video memes of Donald Trump holding a white flag of surrender. Iran is posting memes of their flag saying, "Welcome to the new world superpower, Iran." They're posting these AI Lego videos where they mock Donald Trump and call him the Epstein class leader and talk about his cover-up of child sex trafficking rings. And they mock his surrender and capitulation and his service to Netanyahu at the expense of the United States of America and America's former allies. Now, Donald Trump is panicking as he sees that. He was on social media all last night making post after post. He's also now back to begging Europe and NATO for help. So earlier in the day yesterday, he said, NATO wasn't there when we needed them, and they won't be there if we need them again. Remember Greenland, that big poorly run piece of ice? DJT. So that's what he said earlier yesterday. And then last night, what we learned is the U.S. is pushing its allies to move quickly on securing the Strait of Hormuz after the ceasefire. And Donald Trump has asked, or I should say, begged European countries to present concrete plans within days for what to do with the Strait of Hormuz. Why are you begging European countries, Donald? Didn't you say that the Strait of Hormuz is now open and all of these tankers are being able to leave the Strait of Hormuz? Didn't you say that's what you got in the ceasefire? Oh, wait. When you read Iran's 10-point plan, I know you don't like to read, Donald. One of the things you agreed to is Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, and they get to charge $2 million per tanker that goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Take a look at this image right here of the Strait of Hormuz, as the New York Times reported. The Strait of Hormuz may be included in the U.S.-Iran ceasefire, but in practice, it's barely functioning. No oil or gas tankers have passed through since the agreement, and only a handful of cargo ships have crossed. 4 cargo ships, mostly Iranian flag, not tankers, so no oil on any of these ships. Even where passage might be possible, most shipping companies remain cautious and are avoiding the route right now. Also, Iran is rolling out more information about its plan to collect these tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. So they plan to charge tankers cryptocurrency fees to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and you have to email them. They give you permission or don't give you permission. They tell you where to send the money to using the cryptocurrency, and they'll ask you a bunch of other questions. Then they say that they've mined the entire Strait of Hormuz, so the ship has to go to the coast of Iran, and then it's very close to where all the Iran ballistic missiles are pointed and drones, and could easily shoot one of these ships if there's any view that it poses a threat to Iran. Iran is controlling the Strait of Hormuz with an iron fist, but let's be clear, that was in the agreement that Donald Trump ultimately accepted. So then late last night, here's what Donald Trump posted. He posted this at around midnight last night. All U.S. ships, aircraft, and military personnel with additional ammunition, weaponry, and anything else that is appropriate and necessary for the lethal prosecution and destruction of an already substantially degraded enemy will remain in place in and around Iran until such time as the real agreement reached is fully complied with. If for any reason it is not, which is highly unlikely, then the shooting starts bigger and better and stronger than anyone has ever seen before. It was agreed a long time ago, and despite all of the fake rhetoric to the contrary, no nuclear weapons and the Strait of Hormuz will be open and safe. In the meantime, our great military is loading up and resting, looking forward actually to its next conquest. America is back. Its next conquest. Do you realize what you sound like? Next conquest. You are a war criminal. You are a felon. You are a genocidal maniac. You are a despicable individual. The next conquest. So as Donald Trump is panicking, right? He's doing the begging Europe thing again, right? After attacking NATO and threatening to withdraw. Hey guys, can you submit like a plan of how we take over the Strait of Hormuz? They're like, you figure it out, bud. This was your unlawful and catastrophic war. Good luck, bud. Do it on your own. We're back to that phase again. Europe, they're going to give me a plan and they're going to do it, right? Doesn't this have the exact same pattern?
Trump's just an idiot. Okay, now he's backpedaling, desperate. Okay, he's scraping and scrambling, if you will. Okay, so let's just go to this brief report because clearly the appeal has not started yet, or the court process. They're at the court. I just saw a video of his attorneys walk into the court, and people were trying to ask them, reporters trying to ask questions. They said they're not going to answer. There's a bunch of people lined up outside. So I'm going to go to this news report quickly, okay, and then see what happens. Maybe he'll get appealed. Maybe he won't. I don't know. If you ask me, they need to take Diddy out of jail and put Trump in his place. That's what they need to do as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they're both nefarious, but Trump's much worse.
After deliberating for less than an hour Wednesday morning, the jury in the Sean Diddy Combs case indicated that they had reached a unanimous verdict, not guilty on the most serious charges of racketeering, conspiracy, but guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. This.
Wait a minute. Wait a second. Did I bring up an old news clip? Hold on, beloveds. That's what I get for trying to listen to Ben Masalis at the same time. Hold on. Okay, so let's go to this update from, it looks like 36 minutes ago. Okay, so here's what they say. Let me start at the bottom. Okay, Combs is scheduled to be released on April the 15th of 2028. His release date, hold on, these pop-ups. What the hell's going on here? Oh, God. Hold on, beloveds. I'm going to have to go somewhere else. Now they want me to sign in and all of this foolishness. Let me see here. Okay, let me go to this report. See what they're talking about. Okay, this is from today, 9:30:53. Okay, so let's see what they're talking about. I'm going to share my screen. We got to get out of here, okay? Y'all, I feel like y'all are literally holding me hostage at this point. Okay, it's my own fault.
For 1 year with automatic renewal, and your second membership is free. Get instant
Here.
access to discounts on everyday purchases, eye care and prescriptions, and programs, tools, and tips to help manage your money and maximize your health. Plus, AARP fights to protect your Social Security, Medicare, and more. Join and get an insulated trunk organizer free, plus AARP the magazine. Call or go to joinaarp.org now.
Happening today, Sean Diddy Combs is set to appear in court to
appeal his conviction. The music mogul is currently serving a 50-month prison sentence in New Jersey for prostitution-related charges. News Nation senior story editor Paula Froelich is here with all the scoop. Paula, his attorneys say his conviction should be reversed or at least be freed and resentenced to less time. What are the chances a judge agrees to that?
Just might happen, actually. So his lawyers are saying that the original judge was overly harsh in sentencing. So you'll remember when he was sentenced for the prostitution charges, unfortunately, he was given a very long term because the judge had looked at the other charges and the other evidence in the acquittal of racketeering and sex trafficking. And the judge said he wanted to send a message to perpetrators and victims alike that violence against women will not be tolerated. And so he was sentenced for 4 years. Now, listen, the date has already moved. He was supposed to have been originally released in June of 2028, then May. Now it is April.
Why
of
is that fluctuating?
2028.
Paula, any insights as to why that's fluctuating? I would have thought that would have been set in stone.
You know, you do also get time off for good behavior, but also it's because he spent so much time in jail before. So before leading up to the trial. So they are giving him time served. They're giving him good behavior.
What are, victims and their families saying about this? What's been the response to today's hearing and the potential of a release?
I think a lot of people are terrified, frankly. I mean, he was quite violent towards Cassie. He was quite.
Now I want you all to pay attention to how they make Diddy sound like the devil. Now, I'm not saying he isn't the devil, but just listen. I think people are terrified. Nobody's terrified. Okay, nobody's terrified. Okay, please make it all make sense. Now, we saw him beat the hell out of Cassie, but Cassie's moved on with her life. She's married and all of that. Diddy has not been threatening her, or at least she hasn't come out and said anything about it. So they're trying to act like Diddy's the boogeyman, but these people in the Epstein files that did all of these egregious things that we've heard about, okay, even though they can say it's unsubstantiated, unverified, that's because they didn't bother to investigate it. They don't think these people their victims are terrified. The Epstein victims aren't terrified after for years they've had to endure the trauma and watch one of the people that they accuse out here in the public as the whole president. Many of these people, powerful politicians and rich folk that are now knowing that they told on them and they've got no consequences. I would be scared to death. Especially when you see people like Virginia Giuffre turn up dead and then they simply tell you that she did it to herself. Isn't that what they always say? And when we find out that Jeffrey Epstein very likely was taken out of prison and let to go free, they are the ones who should be terrified. Okay? I'm sorry. I just had to say it. But they always want to make the black man the boogeyman. That's what they want to do. And here's the thing. That judge, as Diddy's attorney said, he acted as a 13th jury. Now, you know, in some cases, historically, the judge would be able to use the federal system, or a judge in the federal system could basically use acquitted charges to determine, you know, someone's guilt or innocence, or not their guilt or innocence, but to determine the length of their sentence. Okay, even if they were acquitted of those charges. But as of November the 1st of 2024, you're not supposed to do that. Okay, you're not supposed to do that. As of November the 1st, 2024, the U.S. Sentencing Commission prohibited the use of acquitted conduct in calculating federal sentencing guidelines. Okay, for ranges. So with that all been said, the judge had no business doing that. And if the judge that they go before today and make their argument, I know his attorneys are going to make an awesome argument because they're just that good, but Diddy is likely going to get his appeal. That's just my opinion. Because the judge should not, going by Diddy's being a first-time offender, he should have gotten time served. He should have gotten nowhere more than 11 to 18 months. Okay, just according to the website where we looked it all up when we were still at the court. Okay, so I'm just telling you, the judge did what he did because of the fact that he saw that video of Diddy beating Cassie, which he wasn't charged for, and then because of other things that were said, and a lot of those things that were said were proven to be lies. And so that's just what that was. That judge was racist or biased, whatever you want to call him. I think he was absolutely racist. That's my opinion from sitting right there. And I'm not saying Diddy's an angel, and Diddy may have had everything or anything or something to do with Tupac and Biggie's murder, but let's remember he was not on trial for that. Okay? He was not on trial for that. And if you are a person who, because someone does something nefarious, or you think they may have done something nefarious, or they may have been accused of it, and you use that to say they're guilty of something else, now ask yourself, is that fair? That's not how the justice system is supposed to work. But see, they do that to Black people all the time, because whether we like Diddy or not, he's still a Black person. And an injustice to one Black person is an injustice to all. If they railroad one Black person and we don't say anything, they do that to more of us, which they have historically done. And that was my whole argument. You know, when some people called me a traitor, okay, I'm just being emotionally mature. That's what that's called. You see, people that are biased shouldn't be on juries. Okay? People that are biased shouldn't be on juries. People that are emotionally incompetent or people that are not emotionally mature should not be on juries. That's why they have the voir dire process and try to weed out those people. Sometimes they skip through or fall through the cracks. But here's the thing. Let me tell you all why I think this way. Let me give you a little bit of insight into the reason that I was cheering when Diddy beat the biggest charges. Because to me, sitting there hearing and seeing the evidence, they were lying. There was no RICO. There was no trafficking. These people were willfully complicit in the things that they did. That's just the fact. Okay? And all of the people who told lies turned out to be people who got fired. It's interesting that the people who left on their own came in and told the truth. Even Brendan Paul, what he said was beneficial to Diddy, and I really didn't expect that. I thought he's going to come in there and be the nail in the coffin, perhaps. But that wasn't the case. And so a lot of these people were lying. But let me tell you why I think the way that I do. Because when I went to college, as a young person, I went to college for criminal justice. And when I was in college, I had to take a class called ethics. The reason they make you take this class is because we know that a lot of people in law enforcement are nefarious, they're corrupt, and they're very unethical. And so they give you this class because they want to see how you think and what sort of decisions you would make in certain scenarios. So here's one of the questions they asked us on a test one day. The question was, and I would never forget it because I was like, I know what I would do, but what would a racist officer do if it were a Black person? I already knew the answer. Here's the question. They said, if you are a police officer and you know that someone has committed a crime, a heinous crime, such as being a PDF file, you know that they did it, they have not been charged for it, and you can't prove that they did it, but you feel that they absolutely did it. Then you pull this person over one day and you look for drugs, illegal substances in their car, and you don't find any. You look for a weapon. You look for some reason to arrest them because you feel they should be in jail. You can't find anything, but you happen to have something from evidence from another case in your car. Would you plant that in their car so that you can have a reason to arrest them? Because clearly they need to be off of the streets if they're a PDF file. What would you do? What would you do? Now, sadly, some people would absolutely plant the evidence on them. And that's happened many of times. Even if they didn't think the person did anything nefarious previously, they would do that to people who look like me for no good reason, just other than hate. Remember the audio that I played for you when the racist officer was caught on audio admitting that when Black people, when he pulls them over for a traffic stop, he will plant a gun or illegal substances in their vehicle to prevent them so that they become a convicted felon, so they can be prevented from ever owning or carrying a gun, and also so they cannot vote. That's what he said. That's what he said. Now, I want you to really marinate on that, people, because let me tell you something. What I said, my commentary during the Diddy trial, it was controversial to some because most people wanted him found guilty no matter what, because they feel like even if he didn't do that, he did this. Well, I feel like he may have done this too, but we didn't go to court for that. That wasn't what he was on trial for. And if we don't want anyone to ever do that to us and deny us our due process and to treat us justly, not unjustly, then why would you want that to happen to someone else? You see, when you have idiots like Tisa Tales, who was doing so much of lying about the case, who was doing so much of, trying to, what is the word? Trying to be a pick-me for the people that hated on Diddy so she can get views and clicks, forgetting or not even caring that she's a Black woman. Doesn't she have a Black father? She claims she does. So would you want that to happen to your Black father? Because someone thought that he did something else? They didn't have any proof. Because see, we don't have proof that Diddy had anything to do with Tupac or Biggie. We just think that he may have because we feel like he had a motive and because we feel like he's done nefarious things. Well, in some cases, we know he's done nefarious things. But with that all being said, would you want that to happen to somebody in your family? And if the answer is no, then why would you want that to happen to anybody? You should want everyone to get the right amount of justice. If you're guilty, you should be found guilty by the evidence. Let the evidence show. If you are innocent, then let the evidence show. Go by the evidence. But instead, Tisa sat up there and bashed the jurors. She bashed the jurors and called them stupid. No, she's stupid because she's so emotionally immature that she could not fathom that they found him innocent because of the proof. The evidence did not show that this man was running a trafficking or a RICO organization. It did not show that. Period. And see, she doesn't know about the law. She'll sit there and quote laws and act like she knows what she's talking about, but usually all she's done is copied other people's talking points. If she really knew the law, maybe she would have had a better assessment of that. And another thing is she was kissing the boots of the lamestream media people who were there. Okay, that's what she was doing as well. And also, like I told you, and I still say to this day, I do believe that she was paid by the prosecution. That's why she didn't have to stand in line like the rest of us as it got closer to the end of the trial. And they even would save her seat in the courtroom. Okay, so I'm sorry. And like I told you all, days before the trial ended, like 2 or 3 days before, this lady came to me who worked at the court and told me that was her 16th RICO case that she had been involved in or privy to. And then she said, I like your commentary. You're being honest and not biased. She said, unlike some people who are paid by the prosecution to spew lies. And I said, would you happen to be talking about Tisa Tales? She said, that's exactly who I'm talking about. So that's why me and Ratchet called her out. Okay? Because it's just facts. Period. Now, with that all being said, let's continue because I got to be out of here.
Violent towards a lot of the other women, and people are worried about retribution because he does have a history of intimidation.
And just for anybody who needs a reminder, accused of racketeering, 2 sex trafficking counts, 2 counts of transportation for prostitution as well, currently serving 4 years. Paula, another headline I want to follow up with you about is Fleetwood Mac alum Lindsey Buckingham. You and I talked about this last week or the week before. Attacked in Santa Monica, allegedly by a female stalker. This woman has now been arrested and charged. What more can you tell us there?
The woman, Michelle Dick.
You hear her last name? Okay, I find it all interesting. And then one more thing, let me say too. A lot of these people who look like me, who were going in so hard in the paint on Diddy, just for clicks and views, that's what most of them were doing. They knew they were telling lies. Okay, she was the main one telling lies. And sadly, some of the smaller channels followed her talking points so they could get clicks and views and grow their channels. But with that all being said, I find it interesting because here's the thing. Hold on. That's my sister-in-law. I'll call her back in a moment. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is, we should all want the truth to be told. We should want fairness to be exhibited. Otherwise, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Okay, that could happen. Any of us as Black people could be arrested for something and we could be framed, lied on, or whatever. We see it happen all the time. Okay, and sadly, there is a stigma, a stereotype that most of us are nefarious, violent, we're thieves and thugs and all of that. But then you have people like Brock Turner, who committed a whole R-wording of a woman who was unconscious, and the judge didn't want to send him to prison because he didn't want to ruin his life. How does that make you feel? But they don't have a problem ruining our lives, okay, many of these judges. But another thing is this. Many of these commentators, specifically Tisa, have not ever, and I doubt they ever will, have never done one single report on anyone in the Epstein files. Not one. Not one. Not even Epstein himself have literally never reported on it. But you have hundreds of videos about Diddy. You have never done a report on Vince McMahon, those two Isn't-Rayleigh brothers that just got tried in the same court as Diddy and found guilty, by the way. I love that for them. The three Alexander brothers, okay, they were accused of the same thing as Diddy. Trafficking, they didn't hit them with a RICO, though. I find that interesting. And also, they didn't want to confiscate their money either, like they were trying to do Diddy. But nonetheless, they were charged with trafficking and giving illegal substances to women to make them pass out so they can do whatever. And they were found guilty. And the reason they were found guilty is because they were guilty. But we didn't hear Tisa talking about that. And we didn't hear any of the little minions that follow her channel and spew the same lies as her. We didn't hear them talking about that either. Okay, and so that's a problem for me. You're black, but you don't want to call out people who don't look like you, but you'll gladly call out all the black people. And let's not forget that time she lied and said that it was confirmed that Jay-Z was under a whole investigation, which he was not. Okay, so I'm just saying, you'll lie on your own people for clicks and views, but yet you won't even tell the truth about the people who don't look like you. Please make it all make sense. Sure, nobody can. I'm sure nobody can. Hey, OG Patrice. OG Patrice says the Alexander brothers are nefarious. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So with that all being said, listen, I love you all to life. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Okay, but I will be back later on, probably around 7. So make sure you tune in. We got to talk about something mysterious tonight. Okay, instead of talking about all this war and all this foolishness that Trump has us going into. Yeah, I'll be back. And so everyone, I hope you enjoy the rest of this day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And until next time, I will talk to you all again soon.
They found a little black book. Take a look, don't overlook. Trump allegedly on page 4008. Just coffee, yeah, that checks out great. Allegedly 40 visits to the island of fun. Never been there, oops, flight logs 1. Photos allegedly fake, memories allegedly gone. Justice, allegedly sleeping case, allegedly moved on. Epstein, nice guy like some young. Said the man with the orange tongue now is crying witch hunt and fake. While the evidence allegedly burns for his sake. The list, the VIP list. Powerful men who allegedly don't exist. Your president, your hero, your star, allegedly caught on camera from afar. 40 times, coffee boy sure. The island allegedly loved him, that much is pure. Epstein's dead, secrets in the ground. But the photos Donald allegedly still go around. Allegedly.